Send you a text saying you so.
Well, I don't think it's a surprise that we were sexually attracted to each other. Like, I think there was definitely flirtation between us both, but like,
Right. What kept you from having sex?
because we were married. Like,
Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Bird, another one. Listen, it's a super panel time. I say super panel, it's a men's panel because we're going to be talking about married at first sight from the men's side of things. Listen, I know you guys have been waiting to talk about married at first sight. It's been a crazy episode. I wanted to say first and foremost, we saw some crazy things. I mean, first, we had Madison and David. They're going to continue lying until the end. They said they're going to continue doing what they're doing until this period of time. Okay, they're going to keep on lying. And listen, hey, they held it down to the end, they said. But then we also had the experts coming through, holding them accountable, which I'm not mad at. You know what I'm saying to you? I just feel like they had more energy for these two than they did ever for Ike. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. But also, like, again, once more, Ike and IKECHI, and Emem called him all the way out. Okay. All the way out, okay? All the way out, okay? That letter was read up and down, and I'm not mad at it. Like I said, if you do bad things, when another person's doing bad things, I got nothing for you. You know what I'm saying? I got nothing for you, okay? Obviously, we had Juan and Carla, who I'm sure they have had a conversation behind the scenes to say, let's just lie to the audience, but we're going to tell each other the truth. We ain't in feeling each other, because there ain't no way that this has been going on for that long and nothing's gone on. Can we be honest with it? Like, he hasn't made one move. One. And never she. Yeah, y'all made a pact and said you're going to just ride it out to the end of decision day. Then obviously we had, Thomas and CAMILLE. And I want to say this. I don't know what's going on, but it feels like, I don't want to go too deep, but I feel like CAMILLE's still holding out on Thomas out here. Okay, why is he asking for the lingerie and you're like saying about, oh yeah, my bad, the lingerie didn't come out? You had 3 days. And how are you getting turned off from sex about other people having an argument? I'm trying to have, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to have sex. They're arguing. What's that got to do with me? You know what I'm saying to you? Like, I'm trying to, me and my wife are trying to get it in, and you think I'm going to let their argument between Michelle, Madison, and David affect me and my sex life? Is that the reason why CAMILLE didn't want to have sex? I said, get the frick out of here. Something deeper has gone on with CAMILLE that she's not really being honest about. It's like maybe she wants sex on her time, not necessarily on his time. And I think it might be something we have to discuss that a little bit later on as well. But obviously, David and Madison, again, once more, we found out that the cheating has really, well, you already knew this. We started from the honeymoon, right? When they were there in the gym, that's when the emotional stuff happened. And obviously, when they got back to the apartments, the first night, it looks like she might have been away with, old boy David, which means it wasn't much time before they decided that they were going to quit the marriage. And so I do have to hold them accountable, because they could have actually had a conversation with their partners and said, this ain't going to work. It would have been tough. It would have been painful, but you got to be grown. Okay. Cause we ain't going to give you no grace. When you start saying, I want grace, I want, for you to understand me. I want to phone Alan so that I can explain. Baby girl, there's nothing to explain. You lied when you cheated. Okay, all right. At this point, David said he gonna go all the way dark because he done told Pastor Kyle, listen, you can believe what you want. I said, well, we needed this energy earlier on, David. You took a little bit too long, man. You know what I'm saying to you? You should have told Madison from the jump, you believe what you want from the very beginning. You held on a bit too long. So, yeah, listen, there's a lot to discuss out here. Obviously, this is not Super Panel. Super Panel's tomorrow. Today's just the men's having a conversation and talking as well. So if you are a man in the chat, I know we've got 100 people in the room so far. If you press the like button, please press the like button right now. Press the like button right now. Like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notifications of the uploads, okay? We're going to talk about some things today. Let me get Easton on. We're going to get this chopping up as well today, man, because there's a lot to discuss, you know what I'm saying to you? What are you telling me, broski? What are you saying? You good, Easton?
This is an episode where I was extremely... Can you hear me?
I can hear you, bro. You're good.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. How's everybody doing? I didn't catch anything you just said, Coach Joe. It just like skipped out on me. What'd you say?
I didn't say anything. You're good. I said, how you doing?
Okay. Oh, I can go. All right, but... Oh, no, I'm good. I'm surprised about this episode. I was just supremely disappointed in everybody's actions and reactions, and I do have to give a short list of MVP of the episode to Juan. Carla and the experts. They were the most valuable players. But I'm ready to get into it. Get into the some of the conspiracy theories. Get into where I see a lot of these relationships going, because I'm still team justice for Thomas, because that boy ain't seen that lingerie, and that excuse was weak from Camille. So we got to get to the business.
Yeah, for real, for real. Let's quickly. Obviously, I don't think we have to talk much about Carla and Juan. There is nothing to talk about. They've made a pact, and they're gonna stick beside each other and not do nothing. But Thomas and Camille, though. Thomas and Camille, their situation, the lingerie situation. I want to know what's your thoughts on that, because that's the only thing we really got from them too. Like, they were, in bed and packing actually, and then they were saying obviously, that the lingerie hadn't come out again. Okay, all right, the lingerie hadn't come out again. What was your thoughts of this situation? Because is there more to the story, or is it just a simple case of didn't have enough time to wear the lingerie?
I think it would. I think Camille's trying to leverage the intimacy over Thomas to ensure that there is I won't say ensure that selection day or decision day goes in her favor, but I do think that there is some level of thinking that she's having. It's like, hey, if I hold out on him, if things don't go how I want them to go during decision day, because I think she does want to be with him, but even though she's fighting a couple of different issues, then in her mind, I didn't lose that much by us being intimate. So I think she's trying to hold out to make sure that he says yes, and then once he says yes and she says yes, then she gonna kind of open up the war chest and do all the things and stuff like that. But it seems like she's been taking things off the table. Like, she's been taking off the fellatio. She's been, the intimacy. It just seems like the lingerie that kind of got taken off the table. So it seems to me like she's trying to control a couple of things, and I'm a little bit interested on that. Do you think? What's she feeling about it?
Yeah. No. I think personally that she's controlling the situation. You know what I'm saying to you? I feel like she's controlling the situation. I won't lie to you. I feel like for her personally, she's using sex as a way to control. And I think for me personally, I just think to myself that, the situation with Thomas and Camille is that she wants to make sure, like you said, he's going to say yes. And I think to myself that the sex is a way of making him say yes, in a sense of like, I get to choose when and where, how, and etc. That's why the lingerie never came out. It's like why would the lingerie not come out? You know what I mean? Like, why would the lingerie not come out? You have 3 days.
It doesn't sit right with me, and it ain't never sat right with me since we found out that he's asking for it, and he's like, it should be like a enthusiasm when it comes to that, and it seems like to me with Thomas, he's always having to pitch it as like, are we, or what's, like, am I gonna get it? Like, it's always as a place of like, it's not as two balanced individuals saying, hey, we want to please our partners in this way, and we're doing so mutually, and we're consenting together. It seems like he's like, oh, can I do this? And then she's like, I don't know. What's your decision gonna be on this decision day? And to me, it seems like Thomas has pigeonholed himself to being like the asker, and you never want to be that as a guy, because you want there to be some like level of natural attraction, and it's something there. I don't know if it's Camille trying to save herself from doing too much, or feeling like she got the I guess the short end of the stick, because you got to think earlier in the season she talks about how she, like, with her dating guys and dating people and different things like that, she basically had a hard time making sure that they would stick around. So maybe she's doing this in order for Thomas to stick around, for her to ensure that that relationship is good. And if she doesn't, they say no at decision day, then it's like no harm, no foul. I didn't do anything with anybody, and so on and so forth. Sometimes just pop off. Yeah, well, it's just me on this live right now. Give me 1 second, y'all. This Kojo's here. Or Kojo just hopped off. But overall, I think Thomas and Camille are gonna be all right if they say yes. If somebody says no, or if Thomas makes him feel or makes her feel any less confident in their decision, I think that there's gonna be a problem. I think that there's gonna be an issue. But I think Thomas is in it as long as Camille is in it, and Camille is in it if Thomas is in it. As cliche as that sounds, I think that a lot of things are reliant on how long Thomas is going to be willing to take the disrespect. But that's just me.
Sorry, they tried to take me out. Apologies about that. My internet wanted to go out.
Oh no, I was just rambling.
No worries, bro. You're good, man. Thank you for covering for me, bro.
Oh, no problem.
No. My internet went out, so I didn't hear anything you said, bro. What was the last thing you said?
Last thing I said was I believe that, because early in the season, Camille was talking about how she had been, like, I guess, intimate, or she had hooked up with other people beforehand, and I don't remember if it was specifically like they didn't respect her, but she didn't want to be the person who was just hooking up with folks. And I think that she's trying to, she wants to do that, or she's trying to hedge her bets by, let me take this off the table and make sure that Thomas is in it for the long haul. And then if he says yes, or if he doesn't give me any confusion that he's going to say yes, then I'll bring it back after the decision day. Because it seems like they've already been intimate, but I see it sometimes where the ladies might be interested in somebody, and maybe it's just that kind of like the dichotomy between the bad boy and the nice guy, or the good guy. And you might not do all the things with the nice guy that you did with the bad boy, but you're trying to ensure that you have the relationship. And you're like, well, if you want to keep the relationship, why don't you just sleep with the good guy the same way you did with the bad boy? But I think it's that kind of issue with Camille and Thomas.
Yeah, I think there's still some aspects when it comes to I think there's still some aspects when it comes to that connection that we probably need to explore. That there's some deeper things I think are happening. You know what I mean? So we'll definitely talk about that tomorrow. But I just wanted to see your quick opinion on that as well. Obviously, talking about the main one, because obviously today we're just talking about the main one, which is obviously the Michelle, the Madison, the David situation. We're going to focus on mainly on that main one, right? In terms of their connection and what they've gone through. We'll talk about Emem and IKECHI tomorrow. But I want to get your thoughts, because obviously, these two have been lying to the end. They held it down. David even backed Madison when he was talking to Michelle. He said he gonna cover his girl. And there was a lot of, I guess, confessions from both of them. But one of the things that he said was, this is what he appreciated about
She was
her.
looking past me. She seen who I was for who I am, and like how genuine I am and how hard I was trying. So that was like right there. I felt that there was a connection. I was like, and I was like, damn, I could see myself being.
I want to get your thoughts on this. David and Madison at the getaway. What was your thoughts, man?
Ding dong, David. Boy, ding dong, David. This episode showed me what little wherewithal or knowledge that David had, because he really thought he won. He really thinks he's winning with this one, and maybe that might stem to him going to the private school and getting overlooked by the Caucasian women. But he thinks he's winning. He's like, yeah, she looks at me and she gives me attention and she asks me questions and stuff like that. And like I've said from the beginning of the season, he asked for very small, simple-minded preferences, and he got that. So whatever came on the back end, he didn't ask for somebody who was nice and caring and kind and thoughtful and intentional. No, he asked for two things. And so he got that, and he's simple in his requests and he's simple in his rewards. But that sequence showed me how much he kind of yearns for. I won't say he yearns, but he craves. He needs attention. Even when Juan was talking, I know we'll get here in a second, but how Juan was talking to him and how he doesn't handle criticism or being told that he or held accountable at any point of this episode, I found out that he's a very insecure person. And so he needs somebody who's going to give him a lot of attention, keep their eyes on him. And maybe that's why he lives in his mom's basement, in his parents' basement. And he's almost a bit of a mama's boy in a way. And it was just an interesting kind of observation that I made this episode, because he thinks he's won. He's willing to defend Madison to his friend, to the experts. It just, to me, he thinks he's winning, and I'm like, brother, I really wanted to flick Madison's lashes off because they were just bugging me this episode too. But we're not getting into the looks, but y'all, it just a little bit too long. But yeah, I think he's just a little bit shallow-minded and a little bit lazy intellectually to really get something that he needed out of this experiment, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, listen, I think both of them obviously, I think both of them obviously quite interesting, right? Because I think Madison's, typical response is seemingly playing down the connection. Now that can be an indication that that's how she sees David. She's not seeing him on the same level per se, but it could also be because Madison really only cares about her reputation. And she doesn't want it to even smell like anything else. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And so she is trying her best to put on her best of like, no, like, I'm not even considering it. I'm just trying to be friends. It's an elevated friendship, etc., etc. So I was like, okay, hey, I think she's trying to downplay the connection a little bit. You know what I'm saying to you? So. But then it could be true. It could be that she doesn't feel him that much, right? I don't know 100% for 100%. You know what I'm saying to you? But yeah, it just seems like that with those two, when you see David and Madison, that I don't know. I'm hoping that she's serious about it. You know what I'm saying? Because he's definitely deep.
No, I think she's serious about it. Okay, again, put on your tinfoil hats, everybody. I think that Mass was like, hey, we need to get these ratings up before Peacock. Let's put the wrong people together. Because to me, it doesn't, like, I see where people are going with having David and Michelle and Madison and Alan, but Madison and Alan seem like the more comparable relationship, in my opinion. And so I think that it was like, maybe we can get some drama by putting the wrong people together. That's just kind of up in the clouds. But for reality's sake, Madison really does like him. I think she really does like him. I think that she was trying to play it. She don't want to embarrass herself anymore. She feels bad. She feels bad that she did Alan the way that she did, and she doesn't want to put this in everybody's face. She doesn't want to put herself out there and come across like she has all these deep emotions. But you don't do the things that she was doing, like staying out till 2 and 3 a.m. Going through all the extravagant lies if she didn't like him enough. Like, I mean, granted, there is a little bit of a lust aspect to it, but she likes him. And I think that she's just trying to not stir the pot anymore, because she knows that Ding Dong David messed up the plan. The plan was never to say no at a decision day, for them to, we found each other, we connected after the show. But what did Ding Dong David do? He sent the message to the wrong person, and that blew up the spot. And he thought he could lie, but he created a bad lie. So now Michelle is like the greatest hound dog, and she's sniffing, trying to figure out what's going on. And she found out, and she came to the end. Now, that's how I have it envisioned in my mind, and it seems a little bit more realistic, because I just, even when they were talking about this episode, they said their plan was, to do things after the season, and it was Dave. They didn't say it explicitly, but it was David's text message that kind of popped things off. So, yeah.
I definitely hear that. Empress says, I think Madison wanted white kids, unlike her sister's marriage. It's funny how her sister and her are with people who look alike. Suspect. Yeah, well, maybe she has a type. Like I said, I was saying this to Sean earlier on, right? I was saying, like, she says she they said obviously like what she would prefer is a black, no, she would prefer a white man, right? And I was saying that, okay, let's say, for instance, she would prefer that, right? I would prefer a Ghanaian woman, but I may date a Jamaican, or I may go out with a Jamaican woman, or, another country, Nigerian woman. Do you know what I'm saying to you? I prefer it. Almost like 90%. I'm not trying to change it. So, you know what I mean? But I could be open to it. So, obviously, when she's obviously saying that, she'd prefer to have a white dude, I didn't really think anything of it, even though I know that she may have said she prefers a white dude or whatever, rather than saying preferring a black dude. I didn't see it as a issue. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't actually see it as an issue, and I felt a little bit. I was looking at Pastor Carl like, why are you going down that lane? Like, why is it you're going? Like, why did he go down the racial lane? You know what I mean? Like, and then go down. And he said like you would never even look at David on the street, and I was like, oh, I hear it, but we go for types. The whole point of you putting them on the show was because they're meant to go for someone that's not their type. So I don't understand what it felt a little bit contrived. I can't even lie to you. I was a little bit concerned. I was like, why is Pastor Kyle going down that lane? Why is that the lane that you are touching? Like, I get it, these two are liars already, but I didn't get it. You know what I mean?
I think that it was a little bit, I won't say scripted, but to me, it seemed like there was maybe an agenda or a point that they were trying to prove. They were just trying to eat them up on so many different sides of them cheating, which they should have, rightfully so. I just think that they were trying to use every point in reference on the spectrum to say like, hey, y'all shouldn't be together. Y'all probably wouldn't be together. And it seemed, again, to be much a reach for Pastor Cal to say that, because in that quote, it didn't say like, oh, I don't want any Negroes, or I don't want any black folks, or I don't want any ethnic people or people of color. It was that, there's a preference. And, even you can even tell when she was talking about it, like how she was trying to say it the right way without trying to, offend anybody. So I didn't particularly like that portion of what Pastor Cal was saying. It didn't come across to me. Maybe I'm a little bit aloof to the whole circumstance, and maybe some of the language that was used, maybe it was a little bit more harmful. So if it was, I love to be enlightened. But to me, after listening to it 2 times, it didn't come across as if she was like, I don't date people who aren't white men or anything like that.
Yeah, because in the clip that they showed, it actually didn't prove his point. In the clip, she said, I prefer a white man, but I'm still open. Yeah. She didn't say she wouldn't date a black man at all. She didn't say she wouldn't marry a black man. She said she prefers, like, I would prefer a Ghanaian woman. Yeah. You know what I'm saying to you? To be honest, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not even a prefer. If it's a black person, it needs to be black for me. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm stating my case. Like, it needs to be a black person. Like, it needs to be someone. For me, it needs to be someone black. So if I say that, I'm making it very specific. But she said she preferred. So I was like, but she's open to. And I was like, okay, well then, that's why I was looking. I was like, I'm confused. Pastor Carl, what are we really trying to say? What are you really trying to say here? You know what I mean? What are you really hinting at? You know what I'm saying to you?
Pastor Cal is just, I don't know. I don't know if he was heated or what, because he didn't have the same type of energy with IKECHI. He hasn't had this type of energy the whole season. And so it was very interesting for me to to hear him say that. And then, as Ding Dong David does, he defended Madison, and he was over here caping for his woman. It was a little bit disappointing. I mean, I was impressed with the experts for them, how well they handled it, like both the couples that were there. But there was a little bit of disappointment by hearing Pastor Cal, because it just didn't seem like he was talking with the right, like using the right angle to maybe I guess the right angle to describe their relationship, or even how the inception of the relationship.
Yeah. Empress Walton says, no, she said marry white, not a person of color, which I get. Yeah, she said she preferred. Like, I'm sure they would have asked her, what's your preference? Right? Rather than just saying, I'm just open, her preference is more white. again, maybe like I said, I may be out of the loop, like just because I'm coming from a UK perspective, so it may be a little bit out of the loop in respect in terms of the language and the terminology. But if someone tells me they prefer white people, it could be that they only like white people and trying to be polite. It could be, right? But it also could be the fact that they are saying I prefer white people, but I could be open. Now I'm not open. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So my thing will not be I prefer. My thing is I want a black woman. What I prefer is a Ghanaian woman. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So I'm not even opening myself up to that because I don't even want to even play with it. Don't give me anybody that's not black. You know what I'm saying to you? So that's my position though. You know what I mean? So, you know, and so for me, it felt that felt a little bit contrived. I was like, you are digging in a particular place, and I don't like it. What are you trying? Okay, for instance, let's say for instance, she only wants to date white folk. Let's say that. What are we really saying? And we're saying that she's a little racist. Is that what we're trying to say? And that she only dating this guy because, you know, maybe she's got a little fetish. Is that what you're saying? If you are, come out and say it, Pastor Cal. Don't go behind on a side thing. Come out and be all the way out like you tell them to be. If you're going to say something, say it all the way. Don't do it a little bit of a way and be like, well, you know, you said on your little pastor. No, come and say it all the way. Yeah? Because if you're trying to say that she wouldn't look at a black man, come out and say it fully. Don't half-heartedly say it. Otherwise, shut it. Because I think that's more detrimental. And I'm not even trying to defend her. I'm just saying that I don't like that you are inferring that on somebody. I wouldn't care if the person was black, if they were white. I wouldn't like that on anybody. You know what I'm saying to you? I don't like that. I think that's a bit nasty work. And I'm like, that energy should have been for IKECHI. That's where your energy should have been at for people like that. But yeah.
I mean, I've said it and I said it before. That's why I have smoke for Madison, but as I'm not just gonna like nail her to the crosses, because I personally believe that the women, whenever they do something wrong in the relationship, especially in these shows, tend to get the short end of the stick. Like Madison is gonna be held more accountable, or she's gonna get her image tarnished more than David will, when in reality, I think it's an equivalent thing. I mean, granted, she did do Alan dirty, but they're both involved in this cheating scandal. And so I just think that Pastor Cal had the wrong smoke. He could have said David, like, I mean, he did say that they should have left their marriages, but I just think that he had a lot more smoke for Madison when David, you're supposed to be the leader of your marriage. You're supposed to be a husband. You're supposed to be a leader, and you're not acting like one. You're being a follower. Yeah. You're falling weak to your cravings and your lack of attention, and now you want to act like you have this huge smitten relationship with Madison. I mean, I just think that the smoke was just not equally distributed, and I think that's because of in these moments the women kind of get the short end of the stick, and that's unfortunate, which we see in all the reality shows.
Yeah, I think that was yeah. It was political in that sense. I think he could have been held accountable for that aspect, which is why I'm saying that it wasn't in a. I think also because instinctively, while they want to get at David, they couldn't, because they're not also being honest themselves. And that's why I said that I feel like sometimes the experts are being duplicitous, because you know yourself that Michelle was not on point. And that's why they can't come at David too tough. I think that's why they can't come at David. That's why they can get at IKECHI, because IKECHI's doing what he's doing. But even IKECHI's smoke wasn't even that heavy. But you know what I'm saying to you? But in that space, right, they couldn't come at David because you are not also being honest about Michelle. When Pascal came out and said that, I felt like it looked like Michelle was turning a corner. I said, what corner? And what corner were you at that you saw that she was turning a corner? At what point when she called you did she say that she was hurt because David actually did her dirty, and it was because she cared about David? When did you hear that conversation, Pastor Gal? In all the conversations you had with her up until then, at what point we didn't hear one time on the camera where she said, I really care about David? Apart from that little lie where she told about, I was trying to be, I'm not fully closed off. Get the frick out of here.
I also think that with Madison, the suggestions that they gave and her lying to them about how she felt about Alan, but I think it's the same thing. I think with the experts, they didn't do a particularly good job of reading the room, and like, I don't know if it's not creating a safe space or what, but I honestly don't think that Madison was just like lying. I obviously she did lie, but I don't think that she was intentionally lying to them and being like, oh, I really see something going on with Alan. I think that it was part of a bigger plan of like, hey, if I can get this to decision day and act like I'm trying, then maybe I can get out. But even the experts are like, we're telling you to show more effort, do more things, this, that, and the third. And like, did the experts not pick up on their constant repeating of, hey, Madison, pick it up, like show some effort, show some energy, act like you like your husband, this, that, and the third? Or are they just like aloof and unaware and just lacking of awareness? Because she didn't seem like it seemed like it was continuously like, hey, you're not showing effort in your marriage. Hey, you're not showing like you like him. What's going on here? And their advice is just terrible in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that experts failed, and I think trying to defend your decision making makes no sense because it's not on. Like, if it's me and I chose you two to be together and you chose to do something different, it's on you. I've chose you guys to be together, and you chose that you want to be something different. I don't need to defend my position. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, you can't put nothing on me. You were evenly matched according to the statistics, according to this, according to that. This is what it's meant to be. That's what I'm saying to you. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say anything about particular race or anything like that. I wouldn't have said it because I said like, hey, you know what? Like, I don't want to go down that lane. But in regards to obviously them two, look, I get it. Listen, and also cheating doesn't happen when people cheat. They cheat within proximity. So it's like it's not you don't just cheat randomly and find some random person on the street. I mean, some people do, but they're a little bit crazy for that. But most people cheat through proximity. It's your co-worker, it's a friend, it's somebody that you know that's in close proximity because it's a trusted thing you're about to do, even though it's distrustful. You know what I mean? So it's normally within proximity. So if all the people that were there, who was willing to respond is David. Now it could be that she doesn't really fancy him. It could be. I mean, it could be that case. But like I agree with you, bro. I mean, personally, the fact that she was willing to go against Alan so badly, yeah, it's a lot. Now, personally, I just don't think that I think that, if I'm honest with you, and I think I'm looking at it now, from the honeymoon phase, listen, I don't think it was going to get any better with Michelle. I think she was never going to open up. Let's be honest. She couldn't let this whole basement thing go. She was never going to open up. But it did start a little bit early. You know what I'm saying to you? I think it started a little bit early. Honeymoon is early. It is early. It is early. Even with the Michelle thing, it is early.
I'm in between because how I see it is that I think both, and again, this is why I always say, like, with these shows, you have to have a framework. So who has the leverage? In the beginning, again, the women typically have a lot more leverage because they're just getting to know each other. And if things don't move, if they don't like you. And so with Michelle and Madison, they both didn't like their partner. How I saw it with David and Michelle was that, or David with Madison at the honeymoon, I don't think that it was necessarily the Michelle not giving him attention. I think it was just the mean stuff. And then it eventually, like, me seeing you every day. And then also, if you don't want me around, like, we got to think there was those days like on the boat where she didn't want him around on the boat, or the times where he was like texting her and asking her what to do. Like, we can't have revisionist history, y'all. Like, I get it. We don't like David. We don't like Madison. Madison, she can be underneath the bus. But David, I feel like there was some attempts and there's some trying, and like they were on the boat. She didn't want him around. He kept texting her. She said, hey, I need my space. He slept outside on the pool chairs. Like, there's plenty of data and history that we can look back on and be like, David did try. I just think that the constant seeing each other at the gym, it's just like how it happens in real life. Like, I've worked at plenty of CrossFit gyms and fitness areas, and you might see the person that you go to the same class with more than you see your wife, because you go to work for 8 hours, they're at the gym for a couple of hours. By the time you get home, you eating and about to get ready to go to sleep. Or if you got kids and shoes, you know, playing with the kids, and then you go to sleep. You might get to talk to your partner for a meaningful maybe hour and a half, maybe 30 minutes at tops. And so I just have a feeling it was just them kind of talking and seeing each other pretty often. With Madison and Alan, it was just the attraction. It was just, she was off that bus as soon as she saw him. When that daddy said, yeah, this ain't gonna work, he knew. And honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It didn't. It's unfortunate. Alan's a really nice guy. I'm sure he'll make a great husband one day. But she just didn't fancy him, and she liked David a little bit more. And it's subjective. She might not be more attracted to David just because he is willing to go to the gym off the top. Not that she has to coach him into going to the gym, or she got to train him into going to the gym. Just that he's just kind of a gym bro. That might be her type, and that's just it.
No, definitely, I hear that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, it was definitely. It's, of course, I do think that Michelle was not nice treating, but it was a little bit early. That's what I would say. I think he would have tried. I think he would have tried a little bit longer had it been that he didn't have someone else that was in the space where he could actually access. You know what I mean?
Quick question: do you think that? I don't think that the relationship started out as them cheating. I think it did start off as friends. I really do. I don't think that they started off and was like, I'm romantically interested. I think that they did start whenever they were staying, going to get tacos, and staying at 2 and 3 a.m. That's, yeah. I think I just think that what we like the videos and the side by side, and even them saying like it started the honeymoon. I think that they're, again, I don't care about them painting themselves to look like more villains, but I don't think that it's like, oh, we were thinking about a relationship at the honeymoon. It was just, no, we started to click and talk at the honeymoon, and maybe that might have been a little early, but also, does that mean that nobody can have healthy relationships with, while you're in a marriage with anybody? Like, normally you're supposed to be able to have platonic relationships. It just happened to be them crossing the line.
Yeah, no. Listen, I think there's, I think in that respects, I think for obviously the David aspect, you know what I mean. I get it. I get it. I do understand it, but if I'm honest with you, if I'm really honest with you, I think in a situation with David, Madison, again, I'll say again, they should have been brave enough to say something, and this has come from somebody who actually did this behavior. So I know where it comes from, like the fear of being able to confront. The fear of confrontation, the fear of being looking at the bad person, the fear of actually, having to, you don't even want to consult nobody. Also, I understand what Madison was saying. We're not sure what it is. That's actually the problem. And that's actually where the problem starts. Like, we're not sure what it is exactly. But at that point, and what you're doing is monkey branching. And actually that tells us that there's a lack of self-worth and self-value, because the reason why we're monkey branching is because we're not sure whether this person's good enough to match us. Then we need to stop talking about it then. And if the partner who you're with is not good enough, quit. And this is me telling you as somebody who's done it. So I know, you know what I mean? Like, they should quit. They should have left their partners alone. You know what I'm saying to you? They should have left their partners alone and then see if they can explore it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You know what I mean? But they didn't want to take that risk. Because if they take that risk and it doesn't work out, then they'll be stuck, wouldn't they? They'd have wasted an opportunity by doing that, right? Well, maybe not David so much, but Madison would have. But still, it still would have been stuck though. He'd still have lost somebody, because he would have moved off the Michelle situation. If the Madison thing doesn't work out, he doesn't get Madison either. So, and then your reputation's in tatters because you weren't sure what it was, but you launched out. So I get it, but it's still, it's a lack of really being strong on what you believe that you're gonna get.
Do you really think that David and Madison come across to me as the least? Obviously, they're cheating. The least worried about leaving the show with a partner. I think that they were more. I think David is more worried about finding somebody who's going to give him attention, and I think that Madison is more worried about her reputation. I think that David was the meat shield that was going to take all the bullets and protect her. And I think Madison is so worried about her reputation, which is why she didn't tell Alan. It's wrong. It don't matter. You should have told him. And also why she's trying to preserve her relationship with the girls. And even with the experts, I just they don't come across to me as people who were like, I'm so worried about leaving here with somebody, or they were the party people. To me, they seemed like they were just there for a good time. And if a marriage came from it, then perfect. But if it didn't, like, I'll just be back on Hinge in a couple of weeks, and we'll go keep it pushing.
Yeah, no. I think obviously as well with Madison. I think they both were concerned about the image. If I'm honest with you, like I think David got towards the end didn't really care, but he was thinking about the image as well. You know what I mean? Like so I think they both were concerned about the image. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I think it hits heavier because Madison's situation, she had somebody actually that was liking her, right? So it takes a higher level of skill to lie to somebody in their face like that. You know what I'm saying to you? Because the person that she's with actually likes her. So, but I'm not going to say necessarily she's the worst person in the world, no. But it takes a certain level of detachment to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, to be able to look at somebody in the face, knowing that you have somebody else, there's a certain level of detachment you have to have. And that is where I'm saying about from her is an emotional wound, and David too, is that is from childhood. You learn that from being a child. That's not new. You know what I'm saying to you? That you can look somebody in the eye and be like, and not only was she looking him in the eye, it's not like, of course, we know she was keeping him at bay a little bit, but she was actually giving him false hope. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, there was tidbits of trying to, feed him that there'll be hope in the end. And let's be honest, there wasn't. Because once you're getting smashed, there isn't. I mean, technically, we don't know for 100%.
No, they lying about that. They lying about that. We ain't got to. Man, whenever a dude says you can believe whatever you want to believe, I say, yeah, bro. Yeah, I done used that play too many times. That's an automatic lie. Again, I won't beat a dead horse with the Allen situation because I know we're going to talk about it tomorrow, and I still am holding him really accountable, especially how he acted this episode. But I just don't see it. The little tidbits to me doesn't seem like it was enough for you to wage an entire marriage, like somebody that you are strapping your life, your finances, your potential spirituality, kids, all that behind. Like to me, there was never a moment that was indicative of like, oh, this relationship could potentially foster into something. The only time she was very adamant or saying anything about this relationship, progressing was in front of the experts. If I got to go to your friends, if I got to go to your homegirls to get you to like me, or that you don't like me, you have to feel that for yourself. You have to advocate. Like, you have to be my own advocate within you. It shouldn't be like, oh, he's nice and he's sweet and he's kind and he's everything that you need and we're the expert. No, it just never seemed to me that there was one moment that I can be like, Alan should have hung his hat on that, and that's that Madison was going to be his wife because of X, Y, and Z. And I was listening to a podcast, and they said that you go to the altar based off of the things that you do know, and you get married, and the vows are for the things that you don't. So you get the things that you have to know this stuff to get to the altar. And granted, this is a social experiment, but there was nothing that he knew that should have been like, hey, by decision day, we should be locked in. And that was my biggest conundrum with Alan. It's just like, what did she do to make you, like, y'all were never intimate. She ate a kiss on the cheek. She insulted you. Anytime you thought, every time that you thought that you talked about the future, she would change the subject awkwardly. Like, it just is kind of weird to me. But we'll get more. I guess we'll get more into the Alan situation later.
You're gonna find those places. Like, think about all these times that she's going. We had a little argument and stuff, and her words were, "I'm just gonna go make a call." And 2.5 hours later, I'm like, "Where the are you?" And then 2 hours after that.
Obviously, Alan's situation, we know he cut up some stuff and burnt some pages of the book and stuff. I want to get your thoughts. What were your thoughts on that? Alan cutting up and burning up some stuff in the household. What were your thoughts?
I feel vindicated because I told y'all this man was going to be a crash out. And again, we don't care because Madison is such a crummy person. But like, I'm trying to get out of this mind frame of when I watch these shows to immediately go to the low hanging fruit or the major thing that absolves people of regular like things that that majority of people have, in whether it be insecurities or just different quirks that they may have that need to be corrected in order to have a fruitful relationship. And I felt like with Alan, you see it. You see when you don't get what you want, when you do the things that you thought you were supposed to do, how he acts. And that's the mentality when I was so holding his feet to the fire and I was holding him accountable, is that he's doing this as a result of him doing things that he didn't want to do. When you do things out of the heart, out of the love of the game, out of the love for somebody, if things don't go how you want them to, you don't respond like that. You don't act out in that way. You rip up the book, you break the mug, you burn up the vows, you burn up the pictures. Not only do you do that, he was so petty. It was funny to me. He gonna put it on the stove so she made sure she see it and stuff like that. I just think that was, that's why I was disappointed with everybody this episode, is that obviously you can be disappointed with Madison and David. They'll forever be disappointing. But everybody in their time of being the bigger person or showing some maturity for being the ages that they are and having the life experience that they should have had or should have, they chose to take the low road. Alan didn't have to do that. He could have walked out with some grace and dignity and been like, hey, you're not my person. It is what it is, or just not talk to her at all. But doing that, it just shows how you that's a really, really immature, and that's not how you should act. Also, he really pressed because he asked after that call, after the video you just showed, Kojo, he gonna ask Juan and Thomas, did David and Madison sleep in the same bed together? Brother, that is not what you need to be thinking about. You need to be thinking about immense healing. You need to be thinking about getting recouping the money that you spent on the things that you thought she wanted. That's what you need to be thinking about. But you worried about who bed she's sleeping in. His priorities are all jacked up.
Last night?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
I
don't think so.
But
I don't think so.
Them back.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, you're good. Just dude, don't let that.
The mind's still,
I know.
I mean, the feelings started to develop. They don't just dissipate overnight. The hurt's still there, and it's just processing. Last night?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
I
don't think so.
But
I don't think so.
Them back.
See that you find out that you come back the next day like, so did David and Madison sleep together? Brother, take the L out of lover, because this is over. Like this ain't what it is. That irked me to death when he did that. I said the desperation.
I mean, listen, I think, to be fair, I get why he asked the question, right? It's almost like you want to be vindicated that he actually did, you know what I'm saying to you? I felt for him, you know what I'm saying to you? I felt for him in that moment. Also because the man didn't actually give him room to vent. Like, what they were doing was like, just be the bigger man. And like, when you've just if one of my boys told me, that his girl cheated on him, I'll give him let me at least give him a couple of days, bro. Like, let you vent, bro. You know what I'm saying to you? At least let the brother vent a few times. But there was too much focus from the man about, you're the bigger man. If you see him, be the bigger man. Like, every time, like, just let the man vent and be free. You get me? Let him vent a little bit. Man just got cheated on. Man's really just got cheated on. Man just really got done dirty, cuz. So you gotta let the man burn a little bit. You know what I'm saying to you? Now, of course, I'm not talking about burning pictures, but I'm saying let the man burn a little bit. You know what I'm saying to you? All right? Like, let him have his little angry moment, etc., etc. I'm not talking about the burning of the stuff again once more, but just let it be. You know what I'm saying to you? He needs an outlet. Otherwise, his anger will carry on into the next relationship. He needs to be able to be. Maybe he's got therapy already. I don't know, but you need a safe place to release some of the feelings you got, man. Like, he need the one especially was going straight into, yo, be the bigger man. But bro, we actually, first of all, let's validate how he feels first and foremost, because we've been saying bigger man since the night that he actually got told this. You know what I'm saying to you? Now, of course, he punched the cupboard. That was wrong. You know what I mean? We don't want to see punching no cupboards, okay? But again, we're waiting for a time. Just give him a little bit of room. Give him a little bit of room to say what you got to say.
So Kojo, am I basically, if I'm hearing you correctly, and I'm probably not hearing you correctly, are you co-signing Alan's behavior? Do you think that he should have punched and kicked the cupboards and done the things that he did at their shared apartment? Like, is that something that you would do?
I'm not punching no cupboards, and I definitely ain't burning nothing that isn't mine. So if I had a book and it was my book, I'll burn your book. I mean, I haven't burned anything in the past. If I'm honest, I'll just throw it out. But you know what I'm saying, Chew, but not like in a shared thing that's yours or whatever. Nah, if it's mine, yeah, it's getting dash out. I don't need to see it anymore. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm not punching no cupboards, and I'm not burning nothing either.
That's fair. That's fair. I just think that this behavior, unchecked, goes to being like, it can be harbored, and it typically leans to it being dangerous, just because in this case there's cameras and different things like that. A lot of times when somebody, I'm not gonna just assume that Alan would do something like that, but it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well, especially like when you aren't able to control, or at least again, you just got cheated on. You're just finding out you've been living a lie that, again, you've been complicit in. You're validating your feelings, but to me, the issue is that his responses aren't I don't think it's a place of anger. It's a place of him not getting what he wants, and which was him trying to get the relationship. So now he's like, okay, I'm going to take it out here, and I'm going to stall you out by being quiet and not messaging you, and you don't deserve anything from me, but I'm still going to be checking in and like, did y'all sleep together? Like, I get it. Everybody wants violence and carnage and different things like that. But I think that us as men, we have to hold ourselves more accountable, because if we don't channel that anger in the right way, it can be dangerous. It can be harmful to the people around. It could turn into violence. It could turn into some type of assault or abuse or anything like that. Because again, this isn't yes, you got cheated on, but also you got cheated on and you didn't get what you want after you worked really hard. And so that was my problem with Alan. But some people see it different.
No, I get it. I mean, listen, I think it was a little bit petty, burning up the stuff and everything as well. Like I said, it wouldn't be me. You know what I'm saying to you, and anybody who says you won't know what you do at a time, trust me, I was in that situation. So I'm being deadly serious. I've actually been in a situation where you found out your girl cheated. So you know what I'm saying to you, and then has kept on lying and kept on sleeping with the person. So when I tell you I know what it feels like to be burnt, and then to feel the burn continuing burning, I know what it is, and I know what I did. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to smash cupboards. I didn't smash no cupboards. I didn't go to break anything like that. Do you know what I'm saying to you? I was angry. I was hurt. You know what I'm saying to you? But I had to find other outlets, bro. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Because for me personally, like, I just can't. I can't do that. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And he had 7 weeks of deception. Mine was a whole year. I trump him.
Yeah.
I trump him. Mine was a whole year. The person was lying to my face the whole year. So, and I saw the person who they were with. So I know. But you can't lose it like that. You know what I'm saying to you? You do have to have some level of decorum. Now, again, I think it's within the limit. I'm gonna say it's within the limit. He made sure it was cupboards, and he made sure it was the book and the vows, right? But again, I would say that just got to be very, very careful. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it's more of a precautionary tale than anything. You know what I'm saying to you? So my thing is that, and again, just like him, I didn't have anyone to necessarily tell the story to. I didn't even have anyone. I couldn't even tell someone the story because I was stupid. So I couldn't even tell people the story for time. You know what I mean? So I know what it feels to be pent up and feel the aggression. I had to find other ways. I had to gym. I had to play football. I had to do things that would just kind of expel some of that anger that you feel. I had to write. You know what I'm saying to you? I had a whole diary. You know what I mean? So, I had to find another way, because what I don't want to do, like you're saying, is I don't want to lose the rack like that. But I think that's just naturally me. I don't want to say that's not having brought up necessarily to exhibit anger in that way. I still exhibited anger, but it might have been more internal than anything. You know what I'm saying? That's how I ended up becoming a slut. So maybe that's why.
That was the villain origin story. I mean,
that's the villain origin story.
from what people are saying on the interwebs, Alan had a great Valentine's Day. He had a date and he was doing his thing. I'm hopeful that things have gotten better. I just hope that he's done the work to improve from the time that he's gotten cheated. Because again, this isn't somebody who's gotten cheated once or this is their first time. This is somebody who's gotten cheated on before, and this is a lot. And we're saying national TV, but didn't he say that he got everybody else knew that he was getting cheated on, or like the other guys in the it was something to him getting cheated on that everybody else knew and he didn't know. It was like she was sleeping with everybody else. So to me, this is a repetitive behavior, and when there's a repetitive behavior of something of the magnitude of cheating, there's something there. And so I hope that he's done the work and that he's improved from that moment on, because again, moments like that have a way of like repeating themselves, especially if you don't do the work.
Well, someone said, did you actually break his hand? He didn't necessarily break his hand, but he was close to hurting himself. I don't know if I have the clip for that because he might.
The one thing when I fell for, bro.
He kind of shows it. He shows
Dude
like
was
his
my
hand.
friend, you know.
At this point, I don't think I can be Team David because I'm supporting something that we weren't here for. We're here to be married.
On the clip, I thought I had one, but I don't know if I.
Your friend goes places. Like, you know, think about all these times that she's going. We had a little argument and stuff, and her words were, "I'm just going to go make a call." You know, and 2.5 hours later, I'm like, "Where the are you?" Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. I thought I had a clip. There was actually because he actually says it in that scene where he says like his knuckles, his hand was hurting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that boy was taking it. Was punching out of anger. Like, yeah, he was punching that cupboard. We need to be asking the cupboard how it's doing, like the cabinet how it's doing at this point, because that boy Alan was crashing out, and I just knew that he just looked like he was gonna crash out, and I felt, and I seeing him act the second day just makes me. I don't like to be right in this case, but it just something's just not right. I don't think that us guys, we have the one in today's day and age. We don't have the leniency to be acting out like that in a public forum. But also, we shouldn't be wanting to, like, we should be wanting to be better. Like, if you're wanting to be a leader, you have to be able to monitor and control some of your emotions. And I just didn't think that was the best use of his emotional equity, was punching the cabinet or burning up and ripping up pictures or anything like that.
Yeah, I know. I hear what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like I said, I think everyone gets angry in it. See what I'm saying? So I can understand why he was angry in that moment. I think you're just talking about just the control aspect of it. So, you know, listen, I've been angry. Sean's seen me angry. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm more likely to raise my voice than anything, and to scream and shout rather than. And I was probably screaming and shout at Sean than anybody, and he's the only one I can shout at. But yeah, no, I definitely hear what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? I understand where you're coming from. Sean, what's good, man? I hope you're alive and well.
I am. What's up? What's up, Cold? What's up, Ethan?
That was good, fam. We just talking about obviously.
Thread.
We're talking about. Oh, what's up? If I thread, what's going on with you?
No, I'm being dramatic. I'm okay.
Oh, okay. Now we were just talking about the fact that obviously, our boy crashed out. So we were just saying obviously about whether the crash out was too much. Him punching the cupboards, him burning stuff. Was that a bit too much, or was that? Do you feel that was justified with the situation at hand and what he's gone through? Was that enough? Was that sensible?
Listen, you know, I think it is reasonable considering what he's been through. You know, is it great to be measured? But I think sometimes when you don't have an emotional release, then, you know, it stays pent up. So I think it was good for him. It's probably not something I necessarily would do. I think he went really far with burning up the pictures. And that was like, you ever seen that movie Waiting to Exhale with Angela Bassett when she set her husband's car on fire and she walked out smoking a cigarette? I think it was a bit much, you know. I don't know that I would do that, but you know, hey, this is Alan. And it just reminded me that he did mention, And I don't want to like ostracize him or, make fun of him, but he did mention in his past that he did exercise some, kind of he's expressed himself in a feminine way. I think the burning of the books and the leaving things out like that and the breaking of the mugs and leaving broken dishes around and leaving the book propped up, ripped in half with the photo album. I think it was a little more on, something a woman might do, but hey, look, far be it from me. He's pissed, you know, somebody who you consider, a friend and your wife cheated together. I get it. So I'm not gonna disgrace him of the release, disgrace him for the release, but I think it was, he definitely had a waiting to exhale moment. I'll say that much.
Fair enough, fair enough. Obviously, myself and Issa were talking about, obviously, I know we spoke about it slightly. We was talking about the Pascal's comments about it being not his type, David's type, whatever. I want to get your perspective on that. I felt like Pascal was going down a very dangerous road. I felt like he was gonna. I felt like the comment was left field. I hear him about preferences, but everyone's got preferences. You know what I mean? And I didn't hear her say only. I just heard her say she prefers. Unless there was more to the clip and she said she don't do black men or something like that, then I felt like it was just a little bit left field. I don't know if he was trying to shoot David out personally because he felt he had to defend Michelle. Maybe he got the problem that we don't know about Pascal. He out here defending certain people. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's you know what I'm saying. That's a comment left field. Like maybe Pascal likes white women. That's why he's doing that. You know what I mean? Like it's left field. So it's like I felt like it was left field, but maybe you saw it differently. What's your thoughts?
I think he was reminding him because I said it right on this channel. I don't think that David would have stood a chance with Michelle had they not been in that environment. I think that environment was right for them to get together. So I think it was low key petty. I'm not going to, I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't petty, but I think, for them to just so openly disrespect the maths process like that, and then just be lying on top of lying on top of lying, and then bad lies on that, and try to like pretend like they weren't doing things that they were doing. I think the experts just wanted to remind him and remind her, like, hey, we didn't even think you like black guys. And then she had that same look on her face. I mean, I was shocked that they went there, and I think that she said it. It's like, and it's similar to that Jeannie Mai comment. The Jeannie Mai comment where she was like, black guys are for the side. And when she was talking about her preferences on that show, and the clip went viral, I think it's very similar because that's the thing. I think, and she later admitted it. She was like, yeah, when I thought about for a husband, because I have dated black guys, but when I thought about a husband, I wanted a white guy. So I thought it was good. I thought it was a good reminder for David of what his woman said and how she feels. I don't think do I think it makes her racist? No, because every race has a right to be with its own. So I didn't think anything of it from that aspect, but I thought like, so whatever this is you got going on, this a little fun, this a little escape that you have going on. Let's see how long it lasts. Let's see how much you want to really make a future and a family with that. And I'm not even sure if David considers himself black, because I've never heard him make a declarative statement that I'm a black man. So that could be a whole nother thing within and of itself.
And I think that's what I was saying to you, like that there may be a clear difference, right, in terms of what we're talking about. And when I say black, I mean skin tone. And that's what I was saying, that it's gonna. Although I do believe white people are gonna see black people as black, but it's almost like there's an acceptable, like again, if you see me in Eastern and Sean, you're gonna say we black. There is no ambiguity here. Do you get what I'm saying to you? There is none. Not even texturism. You know what I mean? Our hair is given what they would say as classical black. Yeah, the 4C hairs. So like when I heard her say, let's say for instance, if she was to say like, oh, I messed around with blacks, I was really thinking that she meant me and Eastern black, me, Sean, Eastern black, not David, because David's look necessarily can almost pass. I like to call it not necessarily white, but he passes as almost like maybe the Latino community or his Afro Hispanic or whatever community. He can easily kind of almost like pass. So when someone says black, I'm thinking to myself, they're meaning these type of black. You know what I mean? Like I mess with them black, but you know what I'm saying to you. So when she said she prefers white, that's why I didn't really see it as a problem. I was like, okay, well, in reality, like David's not necessarily if you're an out and out looking, you know what I'm saying to you, physically. You know what I mean? So I was looking at it differently. I was like, okay, maybe even her saying that, I wasn't necessarily looking at it any particular way. Maybe I need to look at it differently and go a bit deeper. But like I said everybody has their preferences, you know what I'm saying, to that of what they would want to marry or what they want to date. But I get what you're saying in that respect. Yes, Issa, you want to say something?
To me, it just didn't seem like a really good conversation because isn't that the premise of the show? You supposed to date somebody that they think would like that you probably wouldn't date on the outside anyway, like that they're hooking you up with. Like I'm sure Madison probably wouldn't have dated David or dated Alan if she had her own choices. I mean, her dad's made it very clear the first day that ain't her type or that ain't what she goes with. I'm sure a lot of the people probably wouldn't go with their spouse. I mean, Camille wouldn't be with Thomas. To me, it
That's
just seemed
yeah.
Camille wouldn't be with Thomas. She wanted a roughneck. She wanted a YN. To me, it just seemed like Pastor Cal was really trying to. I get maybe his anger took a little bit more of the sense out of him when he was trying. He was trying to drill a point that I didn't think needed to be made. I didn't from that clip that she said. It wasn't saying that she only wants white men to marry. It just made it seem like her preference was white people, but she said she dated other people. But I don't know. I just felt like Pastor Cal was a little bit. He was reaching a little bit.
Yeah, I have to push back on you guys with this one. One, David with all this hair looks very different. If you look at other pictures with him when he had a fade and he was competing in body, these body competitions, I saw a couple of pictures of him online. He looks like a fair skinned black guy. Now there's all types of black men too, so don't phenotypically there's all different types. There's Creole black men, there's Afro Latino, whatever, you name it. So he fits more in that range than he does with a white person. There's nothing white about him. I'm sorry. And white people created this race, so skin has nothing to do with skin tone. They created white and black to distinguish people and to create a hierarchy. So when they did that, the nuance is for us to understand where different people come from. But at the end of the day, if you're not white, you're black, you know? And, whether you're Asian or then you have, the Southeast, Indian folks, they fall somewhere in between, but it's not like they get special privileges or they get a pass. So when they asked her what she likes, if she was into anybody other than white people for a marriage, she would have said it. She would have said, oh, it doesn't matter to me. Because math's the one thing they don't do, and they've said this before, which is why sometimes they've said they've had a hard time casting black men, is they've had a lot of black men that want white women. So they said that's why they've had a hard time finding especially men, black men that wanted black women. So they'll play with everything else, but they don't play with your racial preferences. And if you look back in that clip, I think it was either Dr. Pepper or somebody, they said that. They said, well, we don't want to experiment when it comes to race because we understand whatever, whatever. So they don't play with that. She said she wanted a white guy. They gave her a white guy. It's not exactly the white guy she wanted. That's where they're going to play with her in all the other areas. However, race is very nuanced. It's something that at the end of the day, back to what I said in the beginning, it's something that is made up. So yeah, if we sit here and try to like splice and dice it, it's not going to make sense because yes, does David look like exactly like you or me? Not 100%. But if he didn't have all that curly hair flowing down his back with that high ponytail, if he cut that and had a fade, he's gonna lean more towards a black person than he would a white guy.
Which I wouldn't disagree. But she didn't meet him that way. She met him with a whole bunch of hair, and we met him on the show. So and that's what I'm saying. What you're talking about I think you're talking about a macro. I'm talking about the micro, as in her personal preference is her. Like you're talking about as in general what white people might see. But I'm saying to you that, like for instance, the way you broke it down, right? The way you broke it down, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of what she said. She said, first of all, the words were, and I think we have to be very careful not to put words in her mouth. She said, I prefer. It's a preference. And we have to make that very clear. It is a preference. She prefers that particular aspect, right? And didn't work out with the Allen guy, and she chose someone like David. But that's why I said that, again, this was more, I feel like if we're talking about this, I think we're talking more about skin tone than actual the ethnicity, or I don't know how you class it as a race, in a sense, or I should say that word better, right? Because naturally, when you see someone stereotypically, if I say a black person, you're looking for the skin tone. Most people are. Most people are not even in depth to even understand when we're talking about ethnicity or talking about even phenotype or et cetera, right? We don't, because that then goes into colorism and all that kind of stuff. So even within that spectrum, like her choosing someone like David, I didn't think it was out of the norm. Like, you know what I'm saying to you? Like, it didn't feel like it was out of the norm to choose someone like that, because again, we're saying he's black. Right? We're saying he's black. But I'm saying to you that when you look at him stereotypically, he looks exotic. And I use the word exotic on purpose because that's what white people tend to use when they can't place you somewhere. Right? They use this word, they're exotic. You know what I'm saying to you? They use that wording for you, right? It's like for instance, even, and black people do this too, when I think it's really problematic to call someone exotic. But you know, when you're like, you're black, but you got features that are not necessarily black, quote unquote, to say. So it's like people make those exceptions. So that when I saw her with David, I didn't think it was that mad of a thing. Like, maybe again, I'm coming from a UK perspective, so I can be wrong. It looks different from a UK perspective than it maybe does from an American perspective. That's what I'm saying. I'm open to what you're saying, just pushing back to see. You know what I mean? In that sense. Yes, Ethan, you want to say something? You muted.
Oh no! It was. I guess the only thing I had to say was I just think that Pascal was more angry with them cheating and maybe disturbing the integrity of the process than the actual meat and potatoes. Like, I think there was more of a point of trying to embarrass them and shame them rather than really harbor on what the issue was. Because I mean, I didn't even really like the tone, how he was talking to David. Like, she would never pick you if it was, and she wouldn't be able to recognize you. She wouldn't pick you if y'all met on the street. And I'm like, majority of the people here wouldn't be able to pick the person. So it just seemed like it seemed like he was trying to really hammer this home and really try to belittle. And again, I don't care because they both cheaters. So I don't care that much. It just, speaking out loud, it seemed like Pastor Cal had a bone to pick and a point to prove, and that was it. And again, we don't care.
Yeah, I think maybe this is a broad, when you used to have those conversations, Kojo, about colorism, and I think this is a more expanded conversation because there is a very big difference between race and ethnicity, right?
I agree.
So, yes, his race, it's definitely not black. And when you're ticking off of marks, like, could he be Hispanic? Well, technically, yes, kinda, because a lot of times when people think of Hispanic, because there's J-Lo Puerto Rican, so you know who J-Lo is, right, Coach? Obviously, so she shows up looking one particular way, right?
Yep.
And then you have somebody like a David, but I'm telling you, from a race classification purpose, Madison, David doesn't get a pass. And I think it's our own internalized ideas of white supremacy, which drive how we feel. So we can feel anyway, because David, I don't know. He may or may not identify as black. I don't know that. But at the end of the day, when she said she doesn't want white, she only wants a white person, she doesn't mean David. So it's still, he's not in her sphere. If she was open to all, she would say it. So he doesn't get a pass.
That's the problem.
Right. But listen, let me finish. He doesn't get a pass because he shows up phenotypically different. because his hair texture, because he is longer, or his skin may be a little bit different, he still is not white. So if she was open to that, she would say, you know, I don't mind. She wouldn't make the distinction that she would prefer to marry a white person. Because when someone makes that declarative statement, that means their preference is to be with white people. You know, it's just like somebody asks you, Kojo, you're going to say, my preference is African, right?
Yeah.
Or my preference is black.
It's black.
And that's
Yeah.
it. You know, that is
only black.
a very definitive. Whereas her, she has dated, you know, so whereas the difference is for you, she, you know, you probably haven't dabbled there and others, but at the end of the day, you want what you want. So yes, her statement might have been a little hesitancy also, because think about it, for white people to sit up on national TV, which she knows this is going to air at some point, and the footage could be brought out, it's always a little bit of like, I don't. But at the end of the day, they want what they want, because you see who they pair them with. And that's why he brought out that evidence, because these people have been lying all over the place about everything. So it's like, hey, we want to, just like we did it to Michelle when they asked her what were her preferences and what kind of guy she wanted, and they roll back the bean footage. So they needed to roll back the bean footage for Madison, and also to put David in check, because he needs to be checked, because there's something about him going on his thing and saying he wants a blonde woman, looking how he's looking, you know, and just to say that is specifically what he wants. And then when he got one that didn't like him, his wife, he then jumps over to another one who gives him some attention. So they are highlighting something, which maybe they did it irresponsibly, I'll give it that, but it is something to be talked about. And the way David shows up gives all the markers of someone who probably had some challenges with his identity growing up, not necessarily fitting in, and then wanting that white gaze and doing things to get it, and you know, bending himself into a pretzel in order to fit in and get the approval and like of white people.
Which is fair. Again, I don't discount that. I don't discount that at all. I'm not discounting that part. But again, we're putting words in their mouth, which is why I'm making it very clear. We're putting words in their mouth. What she says specifically, because I watched it several times, what she said specifically was that she prefers a white man, but she's open. That's what she said. So when we start putting words in her mouth, I've said, okay, we can think that, but we still have to be open, because she said what she said, that she's open. She prefers, but she's open. I'm not going to tell you I'm open. I'm going to tell you they better be black, and there is no openness. I'm definitive. You know what I'm saying, Joe? And most people will probably say they're definitive. She left it open. She said she prefers white, but she's open. Now, we can say that maybe she is saying that just for TV. You know what I'm saying to you? Just for TV. But I'm saying that I'm leaving that a little bit open. Do you get what I'm saying to you? I'm not going to condemn her and say definitely that's what that she don't want no black man. Like, I don't want to put that on her, because that's not what the words the person said. Do you get what I'm saying to you? And I wish people would stop saying that, am I trying to defend a white woman? Like, that just shows your internal racism. I don't understand why we're doing that. I'm saying that from a perspective of the fact that I don't think that's what she's actually really saying. I think that she may be a little bit more open because she's dated black men. Now, there may be some racism behind that. There may be a case of she can't bring it to her dad. We've explained this. We've seen this in UK. So it may be one of those things. You know what I'm saying to you? Rather than her not liking him. So because he's black. That's what I'm saying. That's why I say Pascal should be very careful where he was going now. I said, hold your horses before you go down that lane. If you don't know the full story, if you don't know the reason why, just going down that lane, I think it just can be a little bit dangerous. Like just putting someone in that box when they actually said they are open. Yeah, go for it, bro.
I just don't also, like you were saying, I think that she's probably a little bit more open to dating outside of her race, but you know, I'm sure her dad probably has his own feelings and sentiments, and again, don't want to put that on them if it doesn't feel that way. But I don't think that the show or any of these shows do a very good job of making people, even though you're supposed to share your authentic self, but when you're getting recorded, you immediately turn into saying everything that's politically correct, or maybe saying things that might not. That are supposed to be, you're just saying the things that are supposed to be said. And when the camera's on, the same thing with Michelle. She wanted to date a light-skinned black dude. We wasn't up in arms about that, but I don't think that Michelle would have not liked a white guy or anything like that. I just think that she may have her preference, and maybe some of that preference is rooted in something that isn't particularly good, or it might be some internalized stuff. But in my mind, I think the camera being on you forces you or pigeonholes you into saying things that you might not necessarily want to say, or might be a little bit more politically correct. And it just, I mean, we're beating a dead horse on this with Pastor Cal, but he really just wanted to stick it to Madison and David, and that's where I stand on it. I think he really wanted to embarrass him, and majorly, like with Madison, like, you don't even give this guy a chance, and now you dating him, even when he was talking about the emotional yo-yoing and how y'all might have like got together because of, or the rebounding. Or was it Dr. P or Dr. Pastor Cal, the emotional rebounding? I think that they were just trying to do it. They were so upset that they were just trying to rip into them, as they should. We don't care about them. I just think that holding Pastor Cal accountable, at least like being aware of what you're doing, is good for the integrity of the show, especially as an expert. Like
Go for it, Press. You want to jump in?
Hello. Does it sound okay sound-wise? Because I'm using my earbuds. Okay, great. No, it's interesting because the whole conversation about race is really interesting because I never saw David as a black guy. I just thought he was Latino. So it's interesting to have that conversation, but I guess because I'm from the UK, it's a different relationship. We have a very different relationship with race and ethnicity. So I don't know, when I saw him, that wasn't what I was thinking. I just assumed that he was just Latino, and that was kind of where I went with that. But I think outside of the conversation about Pastor Cal showing the video of Madison saying that she preferred white men, I think it's even beyond that. Because yes, I agree. As Koja said, she did say she was open, so there was always a chance that she was always going to like somebody who wasn't white. But it's more the situation that David doesn't fit. David doesn't even fit the physical type that she said she wanted. She said she wanted a pretty boy. She wanted somebody who was like very muscly. And I know that David used to be a bodybuilder, but obviously the way that he came into the show, he wasn't in that physique. I wouldn't necessarily classify him as a pretty boy. So it's interesting that she's still gone down that route, because even just looking at David, he doesn't appear to be the kind of guy that Madison says that she wants. So I don't know if it was a situation where it was just a different type of energy, or it was just something where they genuinely just clicked because they both went to the gym. And if that's the case, that's wild, because if it's just the gym that started that off, that's clearly a really strong part of your life. But it's just that David doesn't really even fit. Yeah, he doesn't fit the type that she said she wanted anyway. So that's why I've been confused. It's not even the race part. I think Pascal was being a bit shady with that, but he doesn't even fit the type. So my head is still unsure about what's happening, how it's happened, where that even, I don't know, it doesn't compute to me. And I guess if she's happy, she's happy, but I still don't understand it. I really don't understand it. And then I'm just thinking about, like, on the surface as well, because I was talking about this in the group chat. I don't know why Cody is laughing. I was talking about this in the group chat, and I was like, when on paper, like, I don't understand how you've said no to Alan, but you're saying yes to David. Just on paper, when you look at them two, about these two men, how have you gone from saying no to Alan and yes to David? I do not understand it. It is annoying. The women are down one, and I hate it so much because it makes no sense to me. What is going on here? Alan has his own apartment. He has a car. He's above average height. He seems like a decent guy. He can cook. He's funny. He opened up about his trauma. He talked about his childhood. He was ready to go to the gym every single day for that woman. He said, I'm gonna change my teeth for that woman. He said, I'm gonna do what I can. And she still said, no, I want the guy that lives in his parents' basement, has 2 jobs, doesn't pretty unsure about the finances, don't know what's happening with the savings because everyone's saying he can afford to buy a house but hasn't bought one yet. What's going on here? Someone please explain this to me because to this day, I'm still confused. I know Alan has boundary issues. I know he self-abandons. I know that, but I'm so sorry. I don't understand it. And I know people are saying broccoli pants in the chat, but still, it's not that deep. Like, it's really broccoli pants is really not that deep because I'm so sorry. How? I don't know. I'm just so confused. I don't understand. I feel so bad for Alan. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And the guy can cook. He can cook. What's happening? Oh,
Wait. Before anyone says anything, okay, wait, Precious. If you were to go on the show, how would you say you're open? Or would you say you prefer?
of what? On what?
If you were the
On
type
what
of
aspect?
man, if they asked you, they're gonna match you marriage now, are you going to say that you're gonna prefer a black man, or are you gonna say you're open?
I'd be very specific. I'd just say,
Okay.
if I'm honest, I would be very specific because there would be 2 types that I would say, this is my type, this is what I like. I'm going with that. I wouldn't say I'm open because that's dangerous. When you say you're open, it means you actually have to be open. And if you're not open, it's gonna blow up in your face. So I think it's important to be very specific about what you actually like, what you prefer, and what you like. Don't then follow it up with being open because on Married at First Sight, being open is your first step into a whole lot of trouble. So that's what I would say.
So you don't have to say what the types are. So the 2 types, are they different?
Yes. But I don't understand what's the point that you're trying to make.
I'm just saying, obviously, because you wouldn't naturally. I'm saying when someone says they prefer, right? Like, for instance, your thing is that you'll be specific with 2 types, and you're being specific because you have 2 types specifically that you would want to date, and that's why I said that for her situation, the fact that she says I am open left it open. Like, and I don't think I don't know why we're
100%.
trying to close her when we understand your
No.
point. Once you said that you have 2 types, I'm gonna say, okay, those are the 2 types she said she can be okay with. Once she
Yes.
says I prefer, but I'm still open, then she's open. So
No,
her
no, no.
choosing
Pedro,
something
I don't
like,
disagree with you. I don't
oh
disagree
yeah,
with
no,
you
I'm
on
not saying
that.
you do. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying
Yeah.
in general. Like, so her saying that, I didn't think it was an issue again because even for what we've seen on what we're seeing also from people putting out videos is that David looks like what her sister's man looks like. I'm just, it's not odd. That's why I said that my issue is not with her choosing David. My issue is with Pastor Cal running his mouth, saying this thing. It's detrimental to someone else. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Especially when it's about race. Now we're in a whole conversation. It can be very deadly to somebody. Do you know what I'm saying to you? For either David or her. Especially when we have with the situation we've got right now, like jumping into a race conversation and saying that's not your when you know what she said, she's open to it. I just think that's a little bit mad. And she actually did correct him. So after I watched it again, after she went after and said, "You're saying I wouldn't check," and she's like, "That's not necessarily correct because I've dated black people." So then I was like, so that's what I'm saying to you. Don't go down that lane. Just keep it as
Yeah,
this is not the person you would like. And that's my issue with
I
Pastor Cal. I
agree.
didn't like that. But I think I got an issue with all the experts and the way they handled this season. I don't like the way they handled Emem and IKECHI. I thought they were light on
Yeah,
IKECHI. IKECHI should have been blasted. He should have been
it's
finished.
crazy.
And he got away with so much. But we given David this holy smoke. IKECHI was dangerous. That poor woman's mental health. We didn't
Yeah,
slam him the way he needed to be slammed. Like, I felt like the experts really failed Emem and not gave him the smoke that he deserved and let her have to write a whole letter, and now she looks passive aggressive rather than them actually smoking Akechi and letting them know that, listen, the way you're talking will knock off the hat you got on your head there, and let's smoke him properly. But no, we let him get away with so much. He gaslit her, he manipulated her, all these kind of things. This is a real villain, and we just let him get away with it. But it's
You know,
it's David who you want to call up and talk about. She won't even look at you. I'm like, bro, focus on the kitchen. This is the person you should be nailing.
no,
That's
no,
my passion. Sorry, I don't like that. I
no,
don't
I
like
get
violence
it,
like
but
that.
I feel like everyone agrees that Akechi was just wild. I think with him though, I don't know. There's not even a difference. I think he's definitely the worst one out of everybody. I think what I really disliked though out of that Ikechi and Inem situation was I know there was a conversation about um Inem being like a little bit spicy or something like that or like aggressive, and I was just like, no. She's just more sarcastic, if anything. She's Nigerian, and as a Nigerian, I'm gonna say we can be quite sarcastic. It's not necessarily aggressive, and I think in the situation where she was replying, a lot of it was kind of people kind of I don't know how to say it, like being quite condescending towards her. I noticed a lot of people in that show could be quite condescending towards Inem, and I think Ikechi was the first one to kind of start that off. And I think a lot of her responses was her responding to that condescending tone that she felt like she was getting. I understand that Akechi is 100% the number one villain here, but I guess because it's very clear that he doesn't want to continue on with the marriage, I think people have kind of just said, well, he's the number one villain, let's move on, let's focus on what's happening with David and Madison because that's still kind of ongoing. I think everyone kind of agrees that Akechi is just crazy, and we've kind of moved on past that now because NM seems to have said peace out A Town to him. So I think that's what's happened. I don't think it's because people think he's like I don't think it's because people think David's less more of a villain than he is. But I understand you're very passionate about that,
I
Kojo.
don't know though. People have been holding David a lot more accountable than Akechi. Although I do feel that there is, uh, I, I had like I said with Alan, I had the same gripes with Emem. She stayed with the man who was berating her and abusive, and after plenty of times of him not showcasing that he wanted to be with her, she continued to be around. So I've held the same level of smoke for both of them. I just think that like in the hierarchy of things that you could do to hurt maybe the I would say since women are generally the viewers like the greatest viewership of the show, I think the Akechi's actions don't necessarily hit or sting the same way as David because maybe David's actions might be a little bit more like it's more average. Like more people cheat, in my opinion, than deal with the psychological abuse. I don't know. I don't have the numbers on that, and so I don't want to put that out there. I'm just saying that I feel like people resonated with what happened with David more than they did Akechi, and that's why people are giving him a little bit more smoke than they were Akechi.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I do agree that I personally do think that what Ikechi done was worse, and I think it was actually quite. It's when you think about it and you really deep it, it's really sad to see somebody have to go through that. But again, kind of what you're saying, Easton, I was very much the entire time watching both Alan and Inem, just thinking to myself, actually, you know what? You don't have to be here. You don't actually have to stay. Like you can leave. It's okay. And I think I'm hoping that this experience helps them realize that they don't have to stay in something that isn't making them happy. Like owe you don't owe this like sense of obligation. And if somebody isn't trying to meet you halfway and trying to reciprocate and trying to better the situation, you actually it's not that deep. You can leave. It's okay. Like it's not the end of the world. And I think maybe sometimes what happens is people become very sort of like, oh, I have to stick this out, I have to stay, I have to stay. And in some ways you could argue that it's not necessarily well, it could be deemed as manipulative in a way because it's kind of like, well, you can see this person doesn't want to be with you. You're staying there hoping that if you're there long enough, they will somehow change their mind about you and want to be with you. And only in romance novels does that ever happen. It doesn't happen in real life. Most people, once they've decided that they're not attracted to you or they don't want you, that doesn't change. and all you're doing is causing yourself more harm by sticking around, when there's literally a whole world of other people who'd be more than happy to see what you're about. So I hope that I hope this season, if anything that you take from this season, is that it's okay to leave and it's okay not to stay and it's not by force. You can go. And I hope that is something that Alan and them kind of learn, and to not like sabotage themselves and self-abandon themselves and self-sacrifice themselves for something that it's not that deep. It's never that deep.
Go for it, Sean, and then I'll get Trey.
Yeah, I just would disagree that David got more smoke than IKECHI. IKECHI, Ike. I'm just gonna say Ike because I always mispronounce it. Yeah, absolutely not. Social media is all over him from the first couple of weeks. His book was getting horrible reviews. If you look at the different reviews of people all across the, YouTube, TikTok, everybody has unilaterally come against Ike, men and women alike. David is getting more of a pass because people don't like Michelle. So the number of people that are calling out David and talking about that, he's getting a major pass. Only with these lies of maybe like the last week are people kind of, saying he was wrong. But then they're making the caveat and distinction of, well, he was wrong for doing it to Alan. They're not even saying he's wrong for doing it to his wife, Michelle. They're saying he's wrong for doing it to Alan. So he's been getting a pass. I'm not sure where anybody thinks there's more smoke for him. Maybe with Pastor Cal, and what we've seen in terms of the experts. Yeah, there's been more experts talking about what David has done, because what David has done is really been a major breach of the maths process. And not only has he cheated, but he's then involved another marriage. So now they've got two marriages on the hook that are down the tubes, and have created another one. Created their own little separate thing going on. So they're almost producing their own show. So the experts are on their neck because that's interfering with the way that they run the show. But people's opinion, definitely, even on this own channel, I'm in the minority that have just been, calling out David. So yeah, I would definitely have to push back on that aspect of it.
So by the way, I meant not social media. I meant the experts. The social media, they've been slewing him, so they were right to. I'm talking about the experts. The experts needed to give him a whole lot more energy, and I think it also again goes back to that point of, and I'm not saying they have to even make it necessarily more than David. I'm saying that there should be an equal footing of giving that smoke, right? Because, and no, in fact, no, I think it should be more, because they only just found out about David. IKECHI should have been smoked properly, like bat bacon, right, and salmon, because honestly, the behavior that he's done, especially how long it's been, and how long Emem has had to suffer through that whole situation. And I don't, even at the very end, I didn't see the anger that Pascal had for David and for Madison. Where's the anger for Emem in that moment? That's why she had to write a letter, because none of them actually protected her. Dr. Pierre didn't protect her. But Mr. Poppy, whatever her name is, Poppy Pepper, didn't protect her. Yeah. And Mr. Pastor Cow didn't protect her. None of them did. None of them gave IKECHI proper smoke. They gave him a little bit here and there, I admit. They had a little conversation about, be better in your communication. But in terms of smoke, why don't they rewind the tape and be like, but didn't you say you wanted a woman like that? And we gave you that? And look what you're doing? You didn't roll the tape back that way. That is what I'm saying to you. Like, that was somebody having to suffer for the whole entire time, up until this point, and was not protected. But you want... That's the smoke I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, he should have been given it 100. You know what I mean? Yeah, proper. Like,
100%. I've been on Dr. Pia's neck for trying to check her every chance she gets. And I think that we hate to make everything about race, but just so many things are. And I think that, unfortunately, between her being black and being a woman, she would need to prove, and a lot of what Ike's dealings are, some are very covert. Now, in certain instances, Dr. Pia called it out, like, why didn't you speak to her? You know, like when Ike walked in and didn't speak to her, and he obviously had an attitude. But then she went back to, you know, micro criticizing Emem. So I think that is such a it's just a terrible thing that she didn't get anyone advocating for her. She didn't get anyone that was able to, you know, say, hey, listen, we see the anguish, we see what you've done. Actually, I think Dr. Pia was complicit in that comment, you know, and it wasn't fleshed out enough in the beginning when he called her not aggressive, but when he kind of said she, you know, violated him in a particular way. That wasn't, I think if anything was mishandled, forget about this David race thing, that was mishandled because that's somebody's reputation. That's saying somebody pushed themselves on someone without being asked, and it wasn't fleshed out enough for me. And I think they have not handled, you know, calling Ike out for whatever reason. Probably because they're complicit, probably because they saw the psychological test when he came aboard and they gave him a pass and let him through for the second time. So I think there's something to that fact.
Yeah, it feels very like planted because I don't understand how someone like him got onto the show if you're really being serious about who you're putting onto the show. And even how he was behaving, I just don't understand how. I agree, Kojo. I don't understand how that could have just been left. Especially there was times like even to there was a point where I realized that they were just being crazy because I think there was a point where somebody criticized in them for calling Ikechi her husband, and she was like, yeah, but he is my husband. And then she was like, oh, you're being a bit spicy. I was like, hold on a minute. I was like, wait, what is going on here? She is like, he is her husband. That is the whole reason she's on the show. So I don't like it. So it was very much a lot of micromanaging in them, a lot of like having her be the one that has to put all this energy. Even when she was on the phone to Dr. Pierre and she was like, oh, I haven't spoken to Kechi. I'm not contacting him because he says I've been a bit too full on, so I'm stepping back to allow him to come to me. And Dr. Pierre was almost like questioning, like, well, why are you doing that? And I was like, are you not paying attention to what's happening in this relationship here? It doesn't make sense to me. Even like when they were asking him questions, and Ikechi is like the number one person of when you ask him a question, there isn't an answer. It's kind of like it's a roundabout thing, or he'll give you another question in as a response instead of actually answering the question, or he'll come up with some sort of like riddle that doesn't actually make sense. And so you're kind of going around in circles. There's nothing coming out of it. And I don't understand why it wasn't ever, yeah, it wasn't ever focused on. I don't know if it's just because I guess maybe it is a race thing, but it was very much a lot of it was ignored, even though it was very obvious, even in his body language, his demeanor, he was just very standoffish. And none of the other contestants liked him. Like he had no other friends. So that should have shown something of like even the guys who usually are quite good at like galvanizing together, there was no connection between the other men and Ikechi at all.
I push back on a couple of things. I think we tend to be we in most of our stories and in most of our observations, we paint people as only a hero or only a villain. And I don't have too much hero-like actions from Ike, but I do have a little bit of smoke for Emem. And it's not just for her continuing to be in a relationship that she probably shouldn't have been, that was damaging overall to her entire, like her mind, body, spirit, the whole nine, which makes me question and wonder, why are you in a relationship like that? Like you have all this stuff going on for you. You're smart, educated, beautiful, successful in many different avenues. Why are you still putting yourself out there for somebody who's willing to treat you like Ike was treating you? And again, we can say that it was in the premise of the show and all this and the experts and everything like that. But I think that everybody is flawed, and in Emem's case, I think some of her flaws were the fact that she just wanted to be in a relationship. Like I think she wanted to be married, and I never should have necessarily treated her or enacted the way that he did. But we are absolving Emem of a lot of, you know, in some areas of improvement that could be made. The same way as like we're absolving Alan because he got cheated from areas that he can improve because he got cheated on. And I see this time and time again. We do it from reality show to reality show, that if somebody does something large, we overlook it and not act like they can never do anything wrong, and they never do, or they're never complicit in their own demise. And I think that with Emem, her demise was that she just wanted to be married to anybody, and so that's why she stuck it out so long with IKECHI. It wasn't the fact she wanted to be married so bad, and she wanted to be picked so bad, and she wanted the husband so bad that she's willing to go through all of this, and she's even willing to get a little spicy with them, because y'all can't tell me that Emem ain't a little spicy. How she read that boy to Phil. Ain't no way. Y'all trying to act like, oh well, no, she had that already in her. She had that letters to her departed already typed up and ready. It probably took her 15 minutes to write that. And I ain't saying that she wasn't well deserved, because again, we don't care about IKECHI the same way we don't care about Michelle. So you can do whatever you want to do with them. I'm just saying that we got to stop the cap and acting like these people are just like absolved and pure in what they're doing, or what mistakes they've made, or what issues that they might have underlying, because somebody has something that's glaring. Because the IKECHI is glaring, but we just gonna be like, oh well, the amendment is just right, is justified by doing that. I still think that it was a little bit tacky for her to write that letter. I don't care too much for it. I just think that it's a little bit tacky. Ma'am, you are leaps and bounds above Ike in every form and fashion. You don't have to write a letter to the departed. Yes, it's good. You get to reclaim your power, but you know what's better than that for a narcissist? You see how Ike smirked? He said, now you get to see how what she does to me. He gonna make her crash out again when they meet at the bowling rink or something like that. He gonna make her crash out again, the same way as I told y'all with Alan. I ain't wrong about these crash outs. I see it in their eyes. They're a little shifty, and she gonna crash out again. But that's what makes Ike tick. He wants you to act outside yourself. And I just felt like she could have reeled that in, and if she could have had a little bit more like tact about it, and she could have just not even worried about it. But she wanted to get her points off, and everybody's gonna be like, yes, get her, get him. And I just don't think that is where she should have been at, especially considering she's far more accomplished and successful than he is.
I will say that I did in the beginning, I was clear. I did say Alan very much self-abandons, very much doesn't have good boundaries, very much is overly eager to make the other person happy, very much in a similar way to Inem. I will push back a little bit on the idea of, oh, but she just wanted to be married, because we also are talking about married at first sight. And that's the kind of person you kind of need to be on married at first sight, is somebody who wants to get married, who wants to make it work. I do feel like one side, yes, she was definitely pushing things and wanting to stay in a situation she didn't need to be in. But I guess also very much in the vein of what people in the chat are saying, she was also encouraged by the experts to stay and to stick it out and to try. But I very much agree with you with that. It became to a point where it was kind of her just being a glutton for punishment in a way. I don't know. I'm not sure about the whole being tacky about writing the letter. I don't know if tacky is the right terminology. I do feel like maybe there's an element of not holding boundaries, of not sort of like being able to let go, having the last word, or maybe trying to get some form of emotional reaction out of it, IKECHI, that she's hoping to get from those words, or at least trying to feel like she can enact some of the pain that IKECHI has given to her. And I do agree. I don't think the letter was needed. I think if she was able to just reconcile with the fact that IKECHI is just how he is, and that he's very triggering for her, and that she needs to kind of focus on what is going to make her a better person moving out of this, to find whoever she needs to find moving forward would have been a better way forward for it. And I guess if I'm being biased in just how I think about things, I wouldn't want Ikechi to have the satisfaction of knowing that I'm still bothered about this situation. So I understand what you're saying, of like, there's an element where you do need to be a bit boundary. You don't have to have the last word or have to keep getting back into that area with somebody who clearly is hurting you and yeah, affecting you in some way. But I guess when your emotions are involved, it's very difficult to think rationally and logically.
Trey, we haven't heard from you.
Well. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I see we are once again divided on these contract marriages. Everybody got some opinions. Okay. I guess I need to have some too. I just got finished watching the episode, so I'm fresh off of it. And before I just jump in, what was the original question here? Because it seemed like it's been jumping back and forth between two main couples. So what was the original question?
There was no original question. It literally started with me, Easton talking, Sean jumped in, Precious jumped in. Literally the end of the conversation, because we were talking about Alan and him crashing out. It turned into obviously Pastor Cal's nonsense.
Pastor
As well.
Cal.
So feel free to address whatever you want to address, innit? Do you get me? It's a conversation. We're just kind of vibes in today. Do you get me? Tomorrow's super panel, so we're just addressing the situation.
Okay, I guess I'll jump on the tail end of the Emem and IKECHI, because that was the one scene that I cared about the least, and it bothered me the most. As I was watching it, I was like, okay, well, why are we having this meeting? Was my first thought. Well, why is this needed? I don't understand. Then it dawned on me, oh, no, this is a setup for Emem to say her piece, quote unquote, crash out. Okay. I see what this is. Okay. Well, let's see how she handles this. I'm not going to lie to you. At first, I was like, yeah, she need to say what she's going to say. Ike deserves it. There's no question about that. But the more, I'm sorry to say this, I know everybody's not going to agree. The more vindictive it became, the less and less I became enamored with it. I was like, okay, all right. I say this. I give a piece of advice when I say this, people. Let's keep it real. Most of us, as a conglomerate, loves a crash out. We like to see the train wreck. That's just real life. We all are guilty of this to a certain extent. In this particular situation, the crash out was probably deserved because Ike showed his behind this entire season. I don't think there's no question about that. But you always have to remember how you handle things, even if you are deserving it of the crash out, says more about you than the actual person. And even though Emem, I felt she was right in some of the stuff she was saying, it did make her look a certain type of way. Now, did I like the way Dr. Pia was handling her this entire season, actually? No. She definitely was coming for her in certain instances that wasn't needed. And to Sean, I heard Sean's point earlier. You are correct, Sean. That whole situation when her, Ike, and Emem sat down and they first talked about the situation, what happened, what turned him off, and Ike insinuated that he was quote unquote violated. He never actually said the words. Dr. Pia fed those words into the conversation, and that's where all this started from. At least with them. Ike was he was hitting at it, but he was very reticent with saying it because he knew what I was going to do. But Dr. Pia was the one who actually provided the words. Oh, Ike, are you saying that you were violated? Because we got to take this seriously. And it went down here from there. I didn't like that. I thought that was definitely handled wrong. More conversation should have been had about it. I agree with you. It wasn't a good look. But I don't know. It just bothered me that Emem. Honestly, if I would have had this weeks ago, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I'd be like, yeah, listen, you should have been went off on this dude. But you wait to now to do it, it falls flat for me. It just falls flat. And Ike, I think Eason just said this earlier. Yeah, you're right. All he had to do was sit there and just say to the camera, see, this is what I had to deal with for weeks. And let's keep it all the way clear and true. Multiple things could be right at the same time. Okay? Emem presents well, but who knows what she was saying off camera and screen? We don't know this. You don't. None of us do. Honestly, Ike could have been worse off screen as well. I'm quite sure that he was. But you cannot sit here. When I saw how vindictive she got, I was like, yeah, this is part of your personality. This ain't nothing you just came up with. This ain't nothing, okay, because it's, because I've been treated this way, this is happening. No, this was well practiced. You've done this before. I felt it as soon as she did it. I said, okay. She's the type of woman that likes to buy her time and then go off on you in the worst way possible. But hey, as we've been saying, I probably deserved it. Like, we don't like him. And because we don't like him, we're okay with her acting this way. It is what it is. Switching topics to David and Madison and the whole meetup with Pastor Kyle. I don't know what Pastor Kyle was trying to get at. He wanted to be so upset. And he was doing a little too much for my taste. Because it was telling. Now, it's a daggone shame when you try to use part of her interview process against her, and you don't even get it correct yourself. Like, bro, okay, all right. This whole episode, I saw people that were definitely trying. Well, okay, it happens all the time, but I saw people definitely trying to rewrite certain conversations to fit their own narrative, remembering conversations the way they wanted to. I found that very interesting throughout the whole episode. Madison did it. Alan did it to a certain extent. Well, Alan to a less extent. He tried to keep it pretty much factual for what was actually told to him. He was just way too emotional for my comfort level. But I understand Alan. I get it. But bro, you kind of told on yourself too. You might have a little issue that he needs to work out and work on. Because he showed him vindictiveness too, and it wasn't cool. Like, Alan, I get it, but come on, bro. Nah. But that whole conversation with Pastor Cal, they was definitely trying to excoriate them. I thought the whole conversation was very performative. When Pastor Cal tried to challenge David on his relationship with his wife, now we've been arguing about this. This is why I call these people these contract marriages. You want these people to have all this, yeah, I'm on the fence. You want me to believe that this is a real marriage? Okay, first of all, I have to disprove my belief that these are real marriages. I know these are contract marriages. Okay, you put this man with a woman that said in the beginning does not want him, acted like she didn't want him. Okay, cool. But you talked him into staying and to ride out these 8 weeks. They both was talked into this. Both of them. So they did. My problem with Pastor Cal was when he brought up that situation to David, and David, you could tell David doesn't lie well. He does not know how to argue well, because as soon as Pastor Cal brought up that situation, yeah, he said she didn't, we all know that she didn't want me and she didn't want to be with me. Okay, and then Pastor Cal anyway, but that turned around towards the end there. She was turning the corner. I almost jumped up out my bed like, when did that happen, bro? You believe that bull crap? Are you serious? Really? Turn what corner? You knew this woman didn't want him. You knew it was going to be no at the 8 weeks. Now, does that excuse David for cheating on his marriage? It certainly does not. For that, David should be excoriated. And he is being excoriated. Him and Madison for what they did. But you want to tell me Michelle's going to get some sympathy from me? I'm sorry. I still can't do it. I've been like this from week 1. Michelle gets this much sympathy from me. And it ain't much. I feel bad that her marriage was cheated on. But you really didn't want this man to begin with. So you being butt hurt and feelings hurt, you can miss me. Now, your feelings towards Madison, I understand. Because you're right. She tried to be your friend this whole time. And she kind of played you. So you have a right to feel bad about that, or feel some type of way about that. Homeboy, you can miss me. But I'm going to let somebody else go right now.
I don't even think her smoke for Madison or her smoke with Madison is because they were friends. They were keep it cute friends. The reason why, I think in the next episode we'll see. And if I don't know women that well, but I know some women like to talk about they significant others, especially when they don't like their significant others. I think the reason why she's got issues with Madison is because she confided. And Madison knows all the skeletons in Michelle's closet about David. All the things that she said she didn't like about him. How she couldn't stand. How he was the scum between her toes. How he makes her vomit. Madison know that. And Madison might have been co-signing it or acting like she knew it, but I know they wasn't the ace boom coons that we think that they are. I just think that it's more of a fact that she knows all the skeletons in Michelle's closet, and also Michelle holds Madison up to a higher pedestal because she thinks that Madison is pretty. And she puts her up in that upper echelon of pretty women that she's friends with. And so she's like, you like this trash, this ding dong. That's the real reason why she's got smoke with Madison.
You just hit the nail on the head. Let's just keep it real. Michelle does not understand how could any woman like David. Period. She looked at him as the most disgusting thing she ever seen in her life. And now you telling me, probably in her head, one of the prettiest women on the show likes him? How is this possible? How is this possible? It does not compute.
The only point I just want to make a little pushback on, because it is around Emem crashing out. That letter is not a crash out. The letter is her articulating her feelings about how she felt about the person she was paired with. And I think we can't tell someone what they should do. That just goes down a path that I think we shouldn't do. If someone feels it necessary to express themselves in a particular way, that is okay for them to do. And if it's a letter, it's a letter. And I think that she was well within her rights to do so. And I'm sure more of that letter was for her than it was for Ike. Because a lot of times when you're in therapy, they encourage you to write things down. They encourage you to put things on paper because it allows you to get back and connect with yourself. It also allows you to be able to advocate for yourself and show that you can do so. So I don't think we should call her letter a crash out. I think it was her articulating her opinion and saying what she felt. I really think we shouldn't be trying to tell people that they need to show up a particular way because we think that's what they should look like when they're expressing themselves if they've been through something. You know, barring her throwing a brick at his head, yeah, I get that that's wrong. But her reading a letter that is expressing herself and relaying the events that happened and also clarifying some things because her reputation was put on the line and that was done on national TV. She has every right to document that on national TV. And also, I think she kind of checked the experts too. So I think all of those things were A1 for her.
Let me answer back directly to you, Sean. I don't disagree with you, but I personally never said Emem's letter was a crash out. All I said was you have a right to feel the way you feel. You cannot dim a person how they respond to something. All I did say was how you respond will say more about you than the actual person. That's it. And that's just facts. Now, how people take that response, that's a different story as well.
Sorry, Sean, go for it.
Yeah, that's my point. Is well, Easton said crash out, and I didn't direct it at just you. I'm just talking in general. But in reference to you, you did correct her and say how she should have done it. And I think that we have to get around that way of thinking where we tell somebody, oh, you need to be better. It's kind of like the same Michelle Obama back in the day where she says they go low, we go high, and look how she evolved a few years later. So we have to give people the room and the space to express themselves in a way that's appropriate for them and not worry about, oh, they need to show up this way or you have to be better. He wasn't better to her. He was horrible to her. He said horrible things about her. He maligned her. He ignored her when he sat right next to her and they're legally married. So yes, she has a right to write a letter. He showed up at a resort, a couple's resort, with a one pager trying to ask her for a divorce in front of everybody that's in the process with them, and she doesn't have the right, or she's not within her rights, or she shouldn't. She should have done better than reading him a letter at their decision day, probably the last chance she's ever going to have with an audience with him, and where he can't openly gaslight her in front of he has an audience, so he has to be careful about how he responds. No, I think that was the perfect time, the perfect moment for her to say whatever she wants to say to him.
Look, I ain't knocking it, but you have all the wherewithal and all the ability to write a letter. But the same way that we were saying that that Akechi was belittling her and defaming her, I ain't saying that the letter did it to the same extent that Akechi did, but you just rolled around with the pig. You just did the same thing that Akechi was doing to you on a smaller scale, not as grand, but you did it to a narcissist. And what do they want? Attention. You just fed that man exactly what he wanted. And we got to see you with all of your accolades, all of your success, stoop to that level. Yes, applaud you. You read them for filth. You got that off your chest. But being able to write a letter is different than being able to recite it. And within reciting that, you're talking about how you wish him nothing but the worst. You did this, that, and the third. Like, ain't we Christians? Pastor Deacon Sean, is that very Christian-like? I just don't think that we should be matching fire with fire. And to me, I think that that's exactly what Akechi wanted, and it may, to some people, it might not be a crash out, but I think that crashing out is a very nuanced, and it's on a spectrum. And for her to be a professional that has her own business, has her own profession going on, is super accomplished. I think that's definitely crashing out professionally on a national TV. But hey, who am I?
To your Pastor Deacon comment, judge not lest thee be judged. That is scriptural text. So yeah, I'm saying we should lean into empathy before mischaracterizing her, or saying that she was wrong for expressing herself.
I don't
Hey,
think
listen,
she. Oh, sorry.
I personally don't think there was any issue with the necessarily the letter. I think the part where I didn't like was when she said he is embarrassing rather than saying that I feel embarrassed, which is more specifically about your own feelings. You're actually saying the person is something. That's the only issue I had with it. Personally, I don't care. Because it's the same thing I said with the David. I'm going to keep it consistent with the David and Madison thing. I do not care what she said about IKECHI. You know why? Because IKECHI has been a prick on the show, so I actually don't care. But if it's similar to the David and Madison thing. They shouldn't be doing this kind of behavior. That's what I said about David and Madison. But I don't care because at the end of the day, I don't have no sympathy for Michelle. I don't have any for IKECHI either. You know what I'm saying, Chu? And it would have never got to that place had the experts actually defended Emem anyway in the first place. To be honest, that the letter in itself, it was just a tone. The tone of it was coming across mad shady. But again, I don't care. I don't care because at the end of the day, the person who you were coming at specifically, I felt like deserved it. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Similar to the Michelle situation where I said I don't care because the person who was at in this situation, they did the person dirty. I'm not here to say anything. You know what I'm saying to you? So my only issue with the letter was only when she said that he is embarrassing. I just felt like that's an insult, and now you're going onto his level. You don't need to go into his level. You know what I'm saying to you? Read him as you read him, but leave the insults alone. Say about your feelings to that situation. But again, like I said, I didn't care. I watched it and I said, "Go on, sis." You give him the work that he needs. He needs some body work, and you're giving him the body work. You know what I'm saying to you? So I wasn't really, you know what I'm saying to you? And it's not just a letter, because if you can't just say anything in this world. Like we have to be very careful. We don't go down that path of saying we can just say anything and do anything, right? But again, I don't care because the person who was in essence deserved all the smoke and could have got some more. Me personally, they could have got some more. You know what I mean? But yes, go for it, Precious.
I was just gonna say that I think I don't inherently have an issue with her writing the letter. I think it can be very cathartic being able to talk about your experience, how you feel, how that person made you feel. I think if I was Inem's friend, I would have said to her not to send a letter to him because I think because of the way that he is, I think you're fueling him. Um, and there's an element of actually this you don't have to allow him to be entitled to your emotions anymore. A lot of their relationship was very emotionally manipulative, and he had so much entitlement, so much control, so much access to her emotions. And I think I would have just said to her, look, you are free of him now. He's not in your life anymore. Yes, you have to repeat the cycle because now the show is out there where people can now see how horrible he was, and they don't even see the ins and out, but they can already see that he's a horrible person in how he's treated you. So in a way, what you're seeing on the TV is a vindication of what your experience has been. And that letter that you're writing, no issue of you writing it. But I would have just said to her, if I was her friend, I was like, look, all you're doing is fueling him more. You're allowing him more access to your emotions, more intrusive ownership of your emotions. Write the letter, have the letter, know it's there, know this that what you felt was real and what you felt was a thing that happened, but don't let him continue to have that access and that power um, over you continuously. And I think his reaction to the letter is just an example of he was just like, cool, this is more ammunition I can use in the reunion. This is more things that I can use to paint a narrative. Whether I mean, for all we know, it could be true, we don't know. But this is more that I can use to paint the narrative of you that I need to paint. Um, and I guess, yeah, my only thing was that if I was her friend, I would have said to her, don't give him any more ammunition. Don't give him anything more that he can use to paint you in a way that is not you. Um, that's all I would have said. Not necessarily, and I agree with Sean. I don't think it was a crash out. I think the closest Emem has come to a crash out was the 1 month anniversary dinner. That was probably the closest she's ever come to a crash out. But yeah, I would have just said, look, don't put yourself in that, you know, have 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 something for yourself. Don't give him everything because now you've given him everything. There needs to be something that you can retain for yourself. Um, and maybe that's just me being prideful, but ain't no way I'm writing a letter to if that was me and I was in them, ain't no way I am showing him that letter. I'm gonna write it, I'm gonna keep it for myself. There's no way I'm giving it to you. No way.
I'll be very specific. I have a problem with anything she said in that letter until almost the very end, where she basically was like, I wish you the worst, okay? But then she kind of also insinuated, I wish you death too. So I was like, ooh, wait a minute, that's a big cross the line there. That's the only thing that took me. I said, everything else, she wasn't lying about. She wasn't lying about. So.
Real quick, I think when we talk about crash out or crashing out, like we have to be very specific that violence and how people express violence, especially genders, men and women don't necessarily define or express crashing out or violence in the same way. A lot more, typically speaking, a lot of more guys, we're more violent physically. We're more violent. Like you see how Alan, when he crashed out, what was it? He was kicking and punching cabinets. That's how he's violent. Whereas women, my observation is maybe anecdotal, and I'm open to being wrong. It's more communicative. It's more with the tongue. They can, say something and they can slash your throat with saying one time with the words that they say or the things that they might write down or tell you. And so I think crashing out is on a spectrum of how we necessarily showcase violence. Now, granted, a guy can be violent or or crash out or say something that cuts deep or might hurt, and a woman can necessarily like do something physical. But I'm saying typically guys were a little bit more physically violent and women are typically a little bit more communicatively violent. And in my opinion, Emem, it was being a little bit more violent in that sense. Just how you can speak life into somebody, you can also speak death, which she literally did within her letter. And so, again, I'm not saying that it wasn't unwarranted because I don't care about Ike. He was trash. I'm just saying that, I would have loved to see her have a little bit more, grace, being that she is so accomplished, that she is a professional, that she has so much we've been talking that she has so much to lose, for her not to stoop to his level and give him what he wants. Because again, that dude was smirking because he knew that even the experts didn't care, but they were like, I might see what he's talking about a little bit when he's saying that she's a little spicy and that she's been saying that. That's all I'm saying.
I will have to push back a
Listen,
little bit on the
okay.
idea of the grace, though. I feel like she doesn't need to give him any grace. There's no grace that she needs to be giving him. I think for me, the only thing that I just feel like her giving him that letter was just, it was more of what would have hurt, like, because I know that his reaction would trigger her. His reaction of him smirking, him not taking it seriously, him saying, look, this is what, that's going to trigger her. And I think that's the only thing that I would have been like, I don't know if you're in the right position to give this letter and to let go of the outcome. And that's the only reason I feel like maybe she shouldn't have given that letter out, because I don't know if Inem is at that place where she can give that letter and let go of the outcome. But I don't think that she needed to give him any grace. I don't know about the whole like wishing death upon him. I didn't get that from the letter, but maybe I didn't pay attention. But I wouldn't say the letter was violent towards him either. I think it was just how she was feeling. I think it was a very much scathing letter, but I wouldn't necessarily put violent on that, if I'm being honest. But again, I don't have any issue with her writing a letter. I don't even have, I guess inherently, I don't even have an issue with her giving the letter to him. I just have an issue because I know the context and how Ikechi is, and I know, and I just don't know if Emem is at that point in which his reaction won't trigger her. I said that's why if I was her friend, I would have told her don't write the letter, but don't give it to him. But yeah, I wouldn't call the letter violent though. I don't know. I wouldn't use that term per se.
Again,
listen,
I don't think.
Go for it. No,
I
go
just
for
don't
it.
think.
Go for it.
I don't. I just don't. I'm not saying violent as in we traditionally think of violence as punching, kicking, this, that, and third, where there's a lot of different areas and different verticals with violence. I'm saying that with men, as you saw with an example, and for those that don't think I hold Alan accountable, I think Alan and Emem are just as complicit in their own demise as possible. I've been saying that since the beginning of the season. They should have been left. They could have left, but they chose not to. They chose to use any little bit of breadcrumbs that they got, and they took that and ran with it. And that's why they're in the situation that they are in, and along with having most importantly, having terrible partners to be with. But when we're talking about violence doesn't necessarily mean that I'm hurting or I'm hurting you to a point where you aren't breathing or anything like that. It's just enacting some level of force on another person. With Alan, he enacted his violence physically, which most guys do. He was kicking the cabinets, breaking the mugs, punching the cabinets, and doing all that kind of stuff. Whereas with Emem, what did she choose to use? She chose to use her words. She chose to use her tongue, and that's the difference. Just because one isn't necessarily going to leave you with a black eye physically, it could leave you with a black eye emotionally, and so on and so forth. And so when I say violence, I don't think that we're necessarily saying like, hey, it's going to cause somebody to do something bad to themselves. I'm just saying, well, not overtly, but it could. You never know. That might push IKECHI over the edge. I'm not saying it would, but he seems like a volatile fellow. So I don't want those words, and I don't think that Emem should have stooped down to that level the same way Alan shouldn't have stooped down to that level, especially over somebody that he's way better than in every form and fashion.
Glenn, talk to me. Easton every panel gonna get himself chopped up like liver, but I respect the fact. His thoughts. Go for it, Glenn.
Yo, I thought the letter that she wrote, she was sharing her thoughts, right? Nobody wished anything worse on a person, but at the same time, she felt like her life was miserable. She felt like what he did to her didn't equate, right? So she went tit for tat, and she couldn't get back to him the way that she wanted. She verbally went against him, right? We want to say verbally attacked him. She verbally attacked him the way that she did, and try to make him minimize who he was and make him look even smaller, right? To insult him. She really just insulted him. Like, hey, if you want a therapist, here's a list of therapists. You can't get them your own. You need therapy. So here's a list of therapists, right? She also told him, if you need, here's a plan on how to get somebody divorced. So go ahead and look at this, and you won't give me one paper, right? So let's not, one piece of paper. She attacked him. I wish she would have been quiet, though, truth be told, because I wanted to hear what IKECHI had to say. Like, there were some times where maybe they cut him off when Dr. Pepper and them asked him the questions about why did he show up at the retreat, right? And she was like, because he came to embarrass me. I wanted to hear his answer. Let him talk. Because again, I think somebody said it. She gave him fuel to say, look, this is who she really was. No one ever saw her like that, right? We didn't see no hidden cameras of her acting like that. All we saw was on camera. So you gave him ammunition to spin the story, to flip the story. For now, everybody can perceive, you know what? She might have been like that. It might have put a thought in somebody's head. She might be that aggressive, as he called her, right? That she is that way. Now, her friend said that she had another side to her. We go back to the earlier episodes. Her friend said that she had another side to her. We saw that side towards the end of this, end of this season, right? Or end of their marriage. We saw the real Emem, how she could be towards him and other people. She had that side has always been there, but she had put over a new leaf. She's turned over a new leaf in order for her to have a husband. But that side has been in her, and we saw a little bit of that last night. Now, she was wishing harm on that man. I don't care. She was wishing harm on that man. Everything he touched is like that Color Purple scene, right? When they said in Color Purple, she was wishing bad luck and bad juju on everything he talks about. Even when Pastor Cal was like, she don't mean rest in peace. She like, let it be what it is. She wanted it to be over with him. So I can't give her the pass on that because she's wishing damnation on that dude. And everything he touched, she didn't want to be good. But at the same time, he put her through some things. And I don't agree with the hate, but I see where it came from. I can understand where the argument comes from. So yeah, everybody handled it differently. And hers came in the way of writing this letter. She ain't never put hands on him. She ain't never burned nothing. She ain't go Hurricane K, right? She kept it kind of classy, but not classy at all.
It's getting interesting out here because the audience have turned because they said they're not feeling these responses from the man them. Hey, it's interesting still, Personally, let me be honest with you. Like I said, I don't care. I already told you, this letter, I don't care. But if we're talking about whether it's right or wrong, I can tell you that. The same way with Madison and David. This is why I said I defend David and Madison, because it wasn't really about right and wrong. I didn't care because Michelle was annoying. You know what I'm saying to you? Which is why I'm also ignoring Emem's letter, because I don't care. But I would agree with what you guys are saying in terms of the letter and what it means. You know what I'm saying to you? The letter was a low blow and it was trying to hit the person. But I don't care. You know what I'm saying to you? I don't really care like that. So personally, that was my particular perspective. So again, I think this goes back to what we're saying again about how we make excuses for people depending on what we see and what we feel about certain people. Like, because I think a lot of us got a lot of people got a lot of hate for IKECHI. I mean, the word hate is a strong word. We've got a lot of dislike for IKECHI. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So we won't even see that the letter might be a little bit some way. I don't really care again. But I can see how the letter can be some way. But I don't care. Because the moment you have to say you're going to wish bad on somebody, you're wasting way too much energy. But I don't care. I think you were angry, you were hurt, and you wanted to give it to that man, and I get it. You know what I'm saying? It was petty. But I get it, because I got a little petty bone in myself too. You know what I'm saying to you? Just today, I was thinking back to a conversation with someone. I said, I should have said to them, delete my number. I was running plays in my head today about a conversation that I didn't handle the way I wanted to handle it. But that was my petty side. You know what I'm saying to you? Right? So we all have that. But again, I'm saying it again because I want to be consistent. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, the person who was against, for me, was IKECHI. And IKECHI has deserved some smoke from somebody. He needs somebody to pipe him down. He needs somebody to let him know you ain't running that game no more. You know what I'm saying to you? That being said, I also hear your points too. You know what I mean? Same way I heard last week about how David and Madison were wrong. I know they were wrong. You know what I'm saying to you? You know what I mean? But hey, at the end of the day, IKECHI had to catch these hands. You know what I'm saying to you? Had to catch these hands. You know what I'm saying to you? But it's fair. I hear what you're saying. You know what I mean? Any other thoughts? I know, Glenn, you haven't spoken as much on that, so I'll definitely come back to you in a second again, Glenn. But I don't know if anyone wants to add on to this. Yes, Sean, go for it.
Yeah, I just want to delineate myself from whoever feels that she was wrong in any way for the letter, because I don't want to be lumped up with y'all. I don't want to be anybody, wherever that lands, it lands, whomever it is. But I don't want to be lumped in with that, because at the end of the day, I think it's not about me liking Emem or disliking Ike. I think if you look broader perspective, we've spent a lot of time, especially as Black people, feeling like we have to be a certain way to be accepted. And I think there is power to saying how you feel in the moment, being real and authentic with your feelings. And it is okay, because there are times when people hurt us that we don't like them and we don't wish the best for them. And when we get to a place where we feel like we have to say things, or we can't say that I don't wish the best for you, we're not being authentic to our feelings, and that suppresses us and further pushes us into a trauma state. So yeah, I think she was right to say authentically how she felt about him, articulate how she felt, the feelings that she had about the way she was treated, and she should be able to do so. And if for her, writing a letter to him and saying it in front of him was what she needed, or what was right for her, that's fine. You can do whatever you want to do. I think when we start projecting how somebody should deal with a trauma that they've experienced, I think that is misaligned. because we actually start harming the person further by criticizing them for expressing themselves.
Now, Sean, I would agree, but I would have to disagree with you. Words have power. I called you a liar last time and you called me out. That's how I felt though. If I said that's how I felt and you didn't like it, now you fighting me. Why are you fighting my feelings? I'm not saying that. By the way, I don't. Again, I'm talking about the overall aspect. I don't think the letter was. I said, listen. At the end of the day, she can be petty if she wants to be petty. LaBelle. It was petty. I don't care if she was petty. You know what I'm saying to you? Her listing therapist is petty. There's nothing that is. You weren't trying to help him. It's petty. There's nothing trying to be helpful in that moment. We know what petty looks like. I don't think we have to pretend what petty looks like. But again, I don't really care if she did it because again, the person who she did it again, I think they deserve the smoke that they got given on that letter. But you can't just say whatever you want to say. I think we have to be very careful. Now we're going down the lane of we can say whatever we want to say. When in reality, the situation is what we should say is I'm okay with Emem saying that at the point in time because we believe that IKECHI deserves it. That's the difference. But if she says this and he didn't deserve it, you're not right to do that. But I don't care again because again, the person who she said it to, I don't care. But if we're talking about whether it's right or wrong, just like we said about the David and Madison situation, David and Madison, is it okay that you cheat? No, but we don't care because it's Michelle. So it's like, it's the same thing. And it's not policing because you can't just say whatever you want to say. I cannot come out and say, I don't wish you well to somebody and think that it's going to be okay. Once you say that, there's going to be a reaction from somebody. And we are going to judge it based on what you've actually said. The reason why we're so hyped about the situation is because we don't like IKECHI. The same thing I said about the Michelle situation. So this is why we're letting it go. And I'm saying it's okay to let it go. We should let it go. We should, because that's the exact same thing I said about the David and the Madison situation. Let it go, because when you have somebody that you don't like, you see it differently. See, and right now the owner's like, red pill. And it's like, no, you have chosen that IKECHI deserves this. And I think you're right. IKECHI deserves all the smoke and continue. But when you go into a point, when you're not talking about your feelings when you say someone's embarrassing, that's not your feelings anymore. That's you now insulting them. You're not talking about feelings. Feelings are, I feel like I've been embarrassed by what you did. That's how I feel. You telling me I'm embarrassing is now moving to another place. We're not talking about feelings at that point anymore. So if we're going to talk about what specifics are, that is not a feeling. You know what I'm saying to you? That is not a feeling. So let's make it very clear. You talking about the person you don't wish them well. I wouldn't want to say that out loud to anybody. I wouldn't want to say that out loud to anybody. You know what I'm saying to you? It's like I wish death on you. And you'd be like, yeah, that's cool. It's not cool, but I understand why you say it because at that point in time, that person has pissed you off so much. Is it right to do though? No, but again, I get it because the person who's getting it, they deserve that smoke. So I just think that, do you know what I'm saying to you? So it doesn't have to be like a crazy thing. It's like we understand why she did it. You know what I'm saying to you? We understand why she did it. But like I said, then when you do it, it will be labeled something. To say somebody is something, it's not your feelings. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, that's why I said, if I called you a liar, Sean, and you start saying, you can't tell me that's not my feelings. I mean, that's my feelings. No, I called you something. So that would be wrong of me to do so, to call you something. I may have felt like you lied, but me calling you a liar is a problem. But again, I don't think it was that bad. Again, once more, I don't think it was that bad. It's just a bit shady. But that's my opinion. You know what I'm saying to you? Like,
Yeah, I think there's several arguments, and you can't just blanket everyone's into your umbrella. Also, I disagree. I've been pushing back on the Michelle thing for eons. So I'm on a totally different port. You can't lump me in with you guys because I've been saying David was wrong. I've been saying Madison was wrong for what they did and for going against the process. So I can distinguish, and I have felt that I have distinguished whether we like the way somebody articulated themselves or did something. We can still call out right and wrong. And in MM's case, she has the freedom. You may not like it, and I get that. Like, hey, but I don't think we should be telling her how she should communicate. If that was her authentic feeling and she wished him the worst, he called her an a-hole. You know, like, so that engendered feelings in her. She felt he was embarrassing or whatever she felt about him. I wasn't in the scenario with her and Ike. He may have feelings too. Hell, if he wanted to read a letter, he could read his own letter.
He did
Go
the whole
off.
season.
Wait. Let me finish.
But at the end of the day, I don't think we should now start micro-analyzing her letter and saying, oh, she should have done this better and she should take the high road. She's giving him what she wanted. No, let her communicate however she needs to communicate.
Now, Sean, lovely. So when
No
he called her an
argument.
a-hole, was it his feelings?
Yes,
And was he
those are
right
his
to do so?
feelings.
And was he right to do so?
No, he
Gotcha.
wasn't right to call her an a-hole.
That's my and then that's the argument
That's
done,
the
because
point.
that's what we're talking about. You can't just you can say whatever you want to say. You are entitled to do whatever you want to say. But all I'm saying is, objectively speaking, if you call someone something, we're gonna label it as something. I'm not even saying she's necessarily wrong. I'm saying to you that, fam, I get why she said what she said, because and that's why I said you actually agree with my point from earlier on. That's why I said about the Michelle
No,
situation.
I
You're doing
don't think that.
what you're doing is you're trying to separate yourself, but you can't separate yourself because you're a human being like the rest of us. We make judgments based on what we feel. And so when you're seeing a situation, you are seeing that IKECHI deserves to be called whatever he gets called. If she says she wishes him death and what you'd have said, that's cool. Because you don't mind her saying that.
Don't frame your argument about what I'm doing, because what were my words to you? I said she has a right to authentically communicate. So don't hyperimpose how you feel about what she did and say that's what I'm saying, because I have consistently said she has the right to communicate in any way. She has the
Sorry, I
right
did
to
wrong. My
express her
bad.
feelings and say what she
Sorry.
needs to say. However he receives it is on him. If he's offended, if he's hurt, if he chooses to write a letter back to her, if he chooses to respond with her, that's the one thing. You can show up how you want to show up, but you also have to be responsible for you can't determine how that person responds. So hey, that's
But I
on
think that's
her.
what I think that's what we're kind of saying here, Sean, is that like, so I think with the letter, as I said before, I have no issue with her writing the letter. I really, really don't. I think it's a great thing. My only concern was the outcome of that letter being given to Akechi and how she received that. Because I don't think Emem is in the place to receive to receive the outcome of that in the way that would actually be good for her. I think for me, I'm just thinking about what is useful and what is actually harmful in the long run. And I think that's where I'm coming from. It is like, yes, you can say what you like, you can express yourself how you want to, but as you just said, there's going to be outcomes to that expressing of how you feel. There's going to be consequences of that. And if NM is okay and it's not triggering and it's fine, fine. But looking at the dynamic between Inem and Ikechi, I just don't feel that her giving that letter, him reading it, and his reaction, she's gonna come out of that feeling better than she came in. I just don't see that, and I could be wrong. But I guess what Kojo is trying to say is that when you're talking about, there's a difference between talking about how I feel and what I think about or what I think of you. And I think some parts of that letter, she kind of tiptoed into, this is what I think of you. And I think his example of, oh, calling her an asshole is like, well, no, that's not really what's happening there. You have a feeling. There's a feeling that you're feeling, whether it's frustration, it's anger, whether it's you're feeling disrespected. But what you've done, instead of saying how you felt, you've jumped into what I think of you, and that becomes insulting. That becomes offensive. And in aspects of her letter, she's essentially doing the exact same thing. Maybe not to the same degree as the Kechi, but she's doing the same thing. And I think it's, for me, it's more just, I don't want Inem to get into that cycle that happens when you have experienced that emotional abuse from somebody. You fall into that cycle of, I'm going to find ways to hurt your feelings, because that's what some of those aspects of that letter did. She was trying to do. She was trying to offend. She was trying to disrespect. She was trying to hurt his feelings because she was angry. And that's completely fine. No judgments. Everyone has been there. No judgments at all. However, in the grand scheme of things, she's not going to get anything out of that. And in the grand scheme of things, that is going to be used as that's going to be used as something against her. In the grand scheme of things, that's not going to heal the pain that she feels. So I think that for me, I was just coming from the angle of, if I was her friend, this is what I would advise her. At the end of the day, she's written a letter, she's done it, she's done it. It is what it is. It's done. It's done. But that was just my angle of, like, if I was her friend, I would have told her not to publicize that letter. But as you said, Sean, and I agree, everyone is entitled to respond how they respond, just as much as they have to also accept the outcomes and the consequences of their responses as well, whether good or bad.
Yeah, I just feel like telling somebody what's not going to work for them or what's not going to allow them, that is a lot of times these types of expressions, it is a cathartic experience. So I, heck, I would venture to say she probably felt really good. It's probably one of the only times she would be in a space where she could articulate her thoughts to him directly, him listen to it, and probably not be able to gaslight her or run out of the room like he's done in the past. So for her, just to have him present there and for her to get her feelings off was probably the final thing that she needed to just move on and capture the experience that she had. So I would venture on the other side that this is something that she needed for her. And in the beginning, I feel like it's less about him and more about her being able to put a voice to her experience and be able to articulate how she felt in those moments and to be able to say her true and accurate and authentic thoughts.
I agree with Sean on that one. I think it was therapeutic to her to get it off, to write it, to even to say it. All right, it was therapeutic to her, and it was a little bit petty, but that's the way she wanted it to tend it. She intended for that. It was a tit for tat moment. You came to embarrass me, so I'm going to embarrass you back. And so that's what that bottom line. It was therapeutic. It could be both. It was therapeutic, but when she was writing it, like, I'm gonna get you back in the way that I know how to get you. So I'm gonna go ahead, because the last statement she said, this one is for free because I charge for consultation, right? So I'm giving this to you for free. So it was petty. It was therapeutic. She felt good when she left, even when Dr. P and them was trying to chastise her. She felt good. So she went out, probably got a drink. I'm good. I'm done. I'm done with this dude, right? Done with this Negro. Let it go. And she felt good about herself. I'm not discounting any of that, and which is real good. But it says the way that I think we arguing two different things. It was petty. It was also therapeutic. But when you do that, the ramifications and repercussions you got to be ready for, because it could have went different ways. He couldn't have not walked up and left and would have had it would have been a love and hip hop situation, right? Instead of being a situation where he just hopped up and moved off and then rolled out. So it can be both. It was closure for her. And somebody said something about winning, and nobody won in this relationship. This is not a win for anybody. They all lost, right? Nobody won in this relationship whatsoever, because neither one is going to trust again. It's going to be hard for them to get in other relationships. It's not a win-win situation. She might feel better and she gets therapeutic, but I understand where everybody's coming from. There's both sides of the story.
Let me just say I'm petty. I'm going to be honest, I'm petty. I like to win an argument. I'll bring an argument from last week and bring it today, which is why I brought it to Sean again. I am petty. And I've told you this, guys. I'm still working on it for the last 4 or 5 years, but it's still in me. You know what I mean? There's a little blood streak of pettiness in there. And that's what I'm saying to you, like, I think and that's what you were saying, Glenn. I think you put it beautifully. We're arguing two different points here, because I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat saying, yeah, he deserved it. And I said, yes, he did deserve it. That's why I'm saying that she can do whatever she wants. But like I said, if you do whatever you want, you have to know that if you do go down the shady route, if we were to call it if it's right or wrong, yes, it's wrong to be that shady. But we understand, based upon the circumstances, which the argument I was having with Sean, that's why I said I was petty. I'm having an argument with Sean is because the reason why I don't feel no way about what she said about IKECHI is the same thing I have with David and Madison. I don't feel no way about Michelle. But Sean has a feeling about Michelle. And I said, I don't care. I don't care. Most of us don't care, because we look at Michelle as, you've been disrespectful, you've been rude. Therefore, you can say whatever you want to say. You can do whatever you want to do, which is what the argument I'm actually making. The argument is not about whether she was right or wrong. It's about the fact that when people feel some type of way about someone, we look at their actions completely different. Because there ain't no way you can sit there and tell me that that letter wasn't shady. And if you say that shadiness is okay, then I have to look at you and go, wait, so we know that shadiness is okay? We all know shadiness is not going to be okay. That's not how we should be living life. We shouldn't be shading people. You know what I'm saying to you? That's not what we should be doing. That's not the right thing to do. But it doesn't matter. Because in this instance, IKECHI deserves it. And all the smoke deserves it. Now, is it the worst ever letter written? Is it the most heinous letter written? Is it the most violent letter ever written? No, not even close, right? But it was hella shady. It was intended to hurt him, and it was very clever and witty to try and get him to shoot him down a little bit, bring him down a peg. And that's okay. I get it. You know what I'm saying to you? IKECHI needed it. You know what I'm saying to you? He's a bit that here. He needs to be brought down here. and that's okay. You know what I'm saying, Chu? So and that's all it is. That's why I said to you, we need to leave David Madison alone. Because you're just picking and choosing, Sean, whenever you want to feel that you want to feel. But you're saying it's her expression. You can't express yourself anyhow, anyway, and not think there's not going to be no consequences, and that you can do anything, and that anything's in the right category. No, there's going to be a right and a wrong. If you say certain things, people are going to look at it a certain type of way. But do I care? No. Send him another letter. In fact, send him 3 or 4 more. He could take a couple more. And send him a couple more therapists that may be around the world, global. BetterHelp might even help. You know what I'm saying to you? Send them those ones there. You get me?
Yeah, Kojo, we could be here for 3 hours because I feel like you're throwing pasta at the wall, hoping something's going to stick to prove your point. Yeah,
It's all sticking.
Yeah, I totally push back on that point because you can't equate him calling her an a-hole by her saying he's embarrassing and her giving him recommendations for a therapist. They're 2 very distinct things, and when you try to mash them up to make them the same, you're erasing the validity of your point. So the whole thing here is she has the right to express herself and detail how she feels about the process that she has with Ike. You could feel right, wrong, whatever, that's irrelevant. Emem is the one that wrote the letter. Emem is the one that experienced Ike, and she has a right to do that. And she shouldn't be called crashing out because she's writing a letter detailing how she felt. Or she shouldn't be hyper criticized and told that she should show up a particular way because she's choosing to write a letter to him in a process that was filled with trauma for her. Yeah, she should be able to express herself about that. You want to get into the nuance of is she right or wrong? That's irrelevant. The point is she has a right to do it, and she has a right to express herself without
And
us
that's not the argument we're having with you, Sean.
over-analyzing her. That's the argument I'm making, and I would tend to believe
who
what
you
a lot
arguing
of
with
people
then?
are pushing back against some of you guys in the comments is just overly criticizing and calling out what she did in the letter.
But who are you? Okay, so wait, I don't know how we're missing each other, because even the point that you're making about she can do whatever she wants to do. Okay, so Sean, just work with me here. Open your mic. Let's go with something, because I feel like I'm moving mad here. All right, if I tell you to shut up, can I do that? Am I allowed to do that?
That's not the same thing, Kojo.
No,
So I'm not
don't
gonna
switch
accept
it.
that because
If it's my feelings, and I feel like I want to say that, and I wrote it in a letter, and I said, in a situation, Sean should shut up, or I don't like. Let's say I don't like Sean. It's my feelings, right? But is there going to be a consequence to how you're going to receive those feelings? Are you going to look at it differently? How are you going to judge
Kojo,
that? How are you going to judge what I'm going to
it's not the
say?
same thing. So I'm just not. We're not going to get anywhere because there is much more context. If you and I had a friendship and you had done some things that I felt were harmful to me, and I relay that in a letter, yeah, I have every right to do that. If I wrote you a letter and said, "Hey, Kojo, when you do X, Y, and Z, these are things that really bothered me. These are some things that you did, and I think you're embarrassing because you made me." I'm just making up things because I don't have that experience.
Yeah,
in
no,
me.
okay,
But
okay,
I'm saying,
yeah.
like, if that were the case, and I laid out a letter for you, yeah, I would be justified. Or if you did that to me, if you called me out, which I've had friends do that. And it didn't feel good, but I had to listen to the letter. I've also been to therapy, with couples therapy, and a lot of times you have to listen to uncomfortable things, but it's listening to that to hear the person's experience, and right and wrong goes out the window. So I have an elevated view of that letter
Oh,
because
Sean,
from
what?
that means
Right and wrong goes out the
He
window.
He hasn't
Whoa.
finished.
You don't get lost in the weeds. Oh, you can't be right or wrong. No, the point is when you're in a therapeutic process, which she was in the presence of expert psychologists, psychiatrists, or whatever, and you are detailing your thoughts, there are going to be some things out there that are mean or some things that could hurt the other person. But the goal is for you to get it out. It's for you to get it out. So that is what I'm talking about.
So long as you want to get it out, it's okay.
so you basically are saying that
That's my point. I'm trying to say about Sean.
But that logic can be used.
For
Anyway.
That logic could be
Akechi.
used
It
for
can be used for
Akechi when
Akechi.
he
That's
was like, yeah,
Yeah,
that-
I'm not
that's
going to
that's a
have this
dangerous logic.
conversation with 6 different people who have differing opinions. Yeah, this is
We
going
actually no,
nowhere.
we actually
So,
agree.
We
You're the one that's
no, we
agree.
only got
don't.
the
No,
opposing
no, we
view.
do not all agree. So that's
Sean,
wild to me.
what you're
We all
what you're
don't agree. You're
Sean, what
crazy.
you're
Like
saying
that
is
is like I'm pulling an Ike now, and we're gonna just have to agree to disagree because this is gonna go all the way
What I will
around the
say,
mulberry bush.
what I will
Not
say, what I
happening.
will say. So I understand what Sean is. I understand what Sean is trying to say. I think I what I don't want us to do is to yeah. I'm not equating what um Emem said in her letter with what Ikechi has said and done, because what Ikechi has said and done is miles worse than what Emem put in that letter, right? But I guess it's just thinking about, like, as I said, I am a little bit confused about where the conversation is going, because I think everyone agrees that she's well in her right to write the letter. I think everyone agrees that clearly the letter was very useful for her. It's very cathartic. I think that I think her writing letter was great. I think it's a great idea. And I won't speak for everyone else. As I said before, my only thing was just second guessing as to whether that letter should have been given to Ikechi. But she decided she wanted to do that. Fine. And as Sean has said, which I agree, she has to then also be okay with whatever the outcome of that letter being given to Akechi is. Calm. I think yes, there's a certain element where when you're trying to relay how you're feeling, the idea of what's right and wrong does tend to go out the window, because it's just for you to be open and honest in what you're saying. Again, but that is in a context in which is safe, because you are being contained by a professional. You are being contained by a psychological professional who can help you navigate these very complex, very difficult emotions. It's not having a letter and then giving it to somebody to read. Not to say that's bad. I'm just saying it's very different context that's happening there. When you're having to deal with very complex, very difficult, very sort of, yeah, dark emotions, you need an external containment to be able to navigate what's happening there. And unfortunately, the experts should have been that for Ikechi and Emem, but they weren't. And I think that's why a lot of harm was done to Emem as a result of them not being the proper containment for all of the just unhealthy, toxic things that were happening. So that's the only thing I would say, is that yes, when you're trying to relay all these sort of emotions, there is an element of don't get too deep in the weeds of what's right and what's wrong, because you want to be able to fully receive what other person is saying. However, that is also within a safe and containing context, which this wasn't. And so that's the only thing. But I get what you're saying, John. I just think I'm just talking more from a person of if I was her friend and what I would advise her. But as I said before, she's done what she's done. It's fine. She's been able to, be open and close that book for herself, and that's perfectly fine. If that's what she needs to do, that's what she needs to do.
we are going about this entirely wrong. We're basically having a scale in terms of what isn't too much for people and what is too little. So we're basically setting the precedence that if I feel this amount of pain, or if I was if violence in like, this is also subjective. It's not objective, like David and Madison cheating. That's objective. Like, this is subjective. The same way I felt what Sean's point was, is basically I could have felt the same way, hypothetically speaking. Again, he's trash. I don't care. And he could basically read and talk to Emem any kind of way and call her out her name, just because he felt like this is his truth, and he's being able to orate himself in a psychological way that is therapeutic for him. No, I think that there has to be a baseline for we have to be honest with our assessment of that. And what Mem was doing, I think that she could have just left it. she could have left it and moved on. The same way she just stooped as low as IKECHI. And I just think that the same way as I said with Alan, I think that he's wrong. I think that Emem is wrong in this case. The same way I think that Alan is wrong for being in a relationship, I think Emem is wrong it was wrong for staying in the relationship. It's just, I felt like we were missing the point, Sean, a little bit, in my opinion, but I digress.
I'll let Glenn have the last word, and then we'll get a thingy because we got tomorrow to go. So this is y'all debate, serious business. I love it. Yes, Glenn.
Now, like I said, man, I think we're picking hairs off of this letter. I think we are. Right is right, is wrong, right? There's nothing wrong with writing the letter. I think we accept pettiness when pettiness shouldn't be accepted. I think we all should have a standard, whatever your standard is. I don't know what everybody's moral value is, right? Everybody's moral standard is. IKECHI was wrong. Somebody said in the chat, and I kind of agree, she didn't give him the smoke when he was giving her the smoke back, right? So she went back and calculated, had a mindset to calculate, to write this letter. When he came to embarrass her at the retreat, where was the energy? I'm not saying she had to go foul then and there, because that's a different conversation. But what I'm saying is there's a standard you have, and how you want to conduct yourself, you conduct yourself. She had a lot to lose. She has a lot to lose. So she felt in her mind, this was the best way for me to conduct myself and keep myself proper on TV, was to write this letter. And I totally agree with Sean on this point. If it works for her and it made her a better person after writing the letter, if she feel comfortable, sometimes, let me say it this way, sometimes I gotta go, all things are lawful but not expedient. It may be lawful for you to write it. It may not be expedient for you to say it. So it might be therapeutic for you to write it, to keep it in your journal, and for you to do it. But was it expedient or beneficial for when she read it? And I just leave that point right there.
I love that. Listen, let me let Deacon Daddy Sean go, man, because he needs to give us the benediction, man. Deacon Daddy Davis, give us this benediction. Let's get out of here, man, because we got tomorrow to go, man.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna write you a letter to remove that name from me. So
make sure you put expletives in there, sir.
That might be my benediction.
I'll be waiting on it.
Take a note out of Emem's book, because this is outrageous. But nevertheless, I think some of the lessons learned very preliminarily are. You have a right to feel how you feel, but you can't change how others may interpret or feel about that. However, I would say stay true to your authentic self, be true to who you are, and that's always going to reap you the best results. Back to you, Coach.
No, thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate that. Listen, we had the audience in a sticky situation. I mean, a lot of people had a lot of different opinions. Listen, since you had such great opinions, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, leave a comment as you go. Don't leave it as a chat. Leave it as a comment so people know that this video was one to watch, okay? We understand that many people have different points of view. Listen, and I know that sometimes we're going to agree and we're going to disagree, but that's okay. Leave it in the chat. Oh, I haven't read out the super chats. I apologize. Oh my gosh. I was so deep in the conversation trying to win an argument because I still haven't changed. I'm still a little bit immature and I need to work on those things. But Empress Horton said no. She said marry white, not a person of color, talking about Madison. Okay. I definitely hear that. Phil Good said Pascal was pissed and petty. I know he's going to be on tomorrow, so he's going to definitely tell someone's whack. Phil said, to Easton's point, women don't like nice guys. I definitely hear that as well. Nona Darling said, we agreed months ago, basement peen is the best. Jeez. I hear it. And then she went on to add, is Emem not human? She said what she said. Listen, I hear it. Mel B, welcome to the members as well. Thank you very much, Mel B, for joining as well. It's been a pleasure. Look, it's going to be crazy tomorrow. We're back here again, 8 p.m. tomorrow, okay? EST. And I know you guys want to say your opinions. You know what I'm saying to you? So we are looking forward. Okay, as well, we are looking forward to having a conversation tomorrow as well, and we want to be able to have that conversation in full-fledged, you know what I'm saying to you. So the ladies will be here as well tomorrow fully, so they can also back the corner a little bit as well, have a bit more balance. I know it's all men today really, apart from Precious, I know, but tomorrow obviously we'll have the open panel again so that you guys can have different points of view as well. So yeah, no, look, listen, I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the pushback for the audience as well. We're not always going to agree, and that's okay. Don't go to bed angry. The Bible says, you know, be angry but sin not. You know what I'm saying to you? So we disagree, but don't go to bed like you can't think about anything else. Listen, you know what I'm saying? I don't want anyone to be too. In fact, let me not police anybody's expressions. Be angry, but don't go and do any sins. That's what I should say. Be angry, but don't go and do any sins.
Don't do that, Coach.
You can be angry. No, they can be angry, but don't go and do any madness. You know what I'm saying? Please. Be angry, but don't go and sin. That's what the Bible says.
The petty
you know
is creeping back in. It's creeping in.
You know what I mean? So please, just be angry, but don't go and do any craziness. I want you to be chill. I don't want the God to come and visit me in the middle of the night. All right, listen. I appreciate y'all, and we'll be back tomorrow as well for Super Panel on Married at First Sight. I'm sure the energy will be just as right again, okay? It'll be just as right again, okay? All right? So we're going to see you lot again tomorrow night. As for the rest of us, I'm sure we'll be behind the scenes. I'm sure we'll be throwing stones at each other from behind the scenes anyway. But he who have not sinned, don't cast the first stone. You know what I'm saying to you? All right, listen, let me get off here, but let me leave you another nice little video. You know what I mean? I always like to leave you with a nice little video before we got to get out of here. Listen,
There's a difference between me and you. Because while you were sitting around, waiting, doing niche, I was out making moves.
That's right. Some of us were making moves out here. We got Little Black Book. You know what time it is.